And they know the king. They know the king. They know the king. Hello, Peace YouTube. This is FleurBrun coming to you today, impromptu. Peace to the east, west, north, and the south. Hello. Hello. I'm sorry. Hold on, let me lower this. I have a little bit of a delay on the Zoom. I'm sorry. Peace YouTube, this is her. Okay, I have a little bit. Hello, peace, peace, peace. I hope everybody's well. I know that I think in the Northeast, it might be in the Midwest too. You guys are dealing with some geoengineered cold weather. Because as you know, during a pole shift, well, generally during the pre-pole shift weather is generally very tropical. Pole shift kind of flips the weather from being what normally used to be cold to you becomes warm. What usually used to be warm becomes cold. It flips the meridians. So there's so much to talk about. I can see you on here, so I'll wait until we get to 500. I hope all is well. So much to talk about. The CyBorgs, the failed planes, and the geoengineered remote controlled Teslas. Big up to the Bioborg, Elon Musk, for just being the biggest goat. No, goat isn't the right word, right? That's not a good thing. He's not a good thing. He said he's going to give y'all $5,000 taxes back. From what he found was illegally, sourced in the was it the IRS or what have you? There were people collecting IRS that were 130 something years old. Big up to them for scamming the system. Like your billionaires, because to be a billionaire, you would have had to scam. It's so funny that projection is everything. To even become a billionaire, even a millionaire, you would have had to step on so many toes. So many people would have had to been killed or died on behalf of whatever you created in order to gain that status. Because billionaires, if you know, we talk about gematria. Bill, B is an amplifier. Ill like bills. Remember I told you want to refrain from having too many bills because it makes you ill, okay? Billionaires, what does it tell you? They're mentally ill. They're psychopaths. When someone wants to be called that, like the replaced Kanye West, who wants to keep that status, look at that clone's behavior. And he has daughters. If you know Kanye West, if you even knew the man that he was previous to being replaced and attached with a handler, which in herself, she's a femme fatale, one of those plants purposefully assigned to a new clone to make sure that they act according to whatever goals and whatever they want this new clone to, how they want them to behave. This person that is replaced the original, that's why when they replace them, they rename them. He can't be called Kanye, he has to be called Ye. So that's why he replaced his name. If you notice, whenever they rebrand and name themselves different, it's because they've been cloned and replaced. So now he's Ye. That's not Kanye, that's Ye. That's a kind of Kanye. It's a kind of him that's been reorganized and assigned a plant, to make sure a handler, to make sure that the clone behaves, okay, and acts accordingly. He acts like a buffoon. He's unhinged. He's going around having his wife basically bucket naked in front of everyone when he has daughters. If you know Kanye West, the Kanye West wouldn't have allowed that. He didn't even want his daughter on TikTok. Okay, so that's just my opinion. Check on in, y'all. When we get to 500, we'll start. We'll talk about all of the things that are happening and occurring. We're in full-on pole shift. We're about to start World War III in about two more, maybe a couple more months. And then also we have the Mothership on their way. On their way. I hope you're ready. Because you know, when the mothership comes, and I'll give you an idea before we start the conversation. When the mothership comes, you do know that how you know it's that ship is because it will be the size bigger than the firmament. So it will encompass the whole top of the firmament. Everything will go dark because of the how wide it is. So it'll be dark in, Saudi Arabia, it'll be dark in LA, it'll be dark all over, it'll kind of dim. And then probably we'll get hail, weird weather, wind, tornadoes because of the size and magnitude of this ship. When that's about to come, your government systems, your Willy Wonka systems will go rogue. They will create some big, huge distraction. My dogs are hyped up. See how they see whenever I'm discussing something, they send a holographic distraction so that my dogs get triggered. This is how your wicked, diabolical cyborg alien government works. Okay? Whenever they don't want a discussion, whenever they don't want you having a discussion that is triggering for people's awareness to amplify, they'll create distractions around you. And remember, the birds aren't real, so they'll do things, or they'll create something with your animals to trigger them. It's diabolical. Are we almost at 500? Okay. Okay, so you probably can't hear it because I'm on Zoom. I think I have a sound canceller. So we have the mothership that's coming. So when that ship comes, it will take up the whole sky. Everywhere will get dark at once. They're going to say it's something else. Usually with the ship comes, you'll get again, weird weather kind of phenomenon. Usually hail. If you've ever witnessed ships before, you usually witness hail. Might be funnels, instantaneous funnels, tornadoes, typhoons, all of those things. Now, when we go into what's going on with the airplanes, when we get to 500, we'll discuss my opinion about what we're seeing and what is being shared on social media. Remember, everything on television, all social media is controlled by the ops. Let me repeat this again. Salud. All social media is controlled by the ops. There isn't anything on social media other than independent sources, and they've kind of psyoped that too. We're giving controlled opposition, contracting them on YouTube, Twitter, Twatter. IG is full of thought bots, like thirst trap, honey trap, thought bots. Most of them are geo-engineered. All these distractions, Kendrick Lamar doing a crip dance, she dancing on her ex's grave. It's out of control. It's out of control. And someone had sent me it's a while back. I'll just address it now. As far as being in a realm with lipless people, I told you I jumped into a realm where I was watching the satanic Babylonian swearing in of the president, which is just a new corporation, because they basically renamed the corporation has been split into different segments. So the Trump that which is could be one on any other day. It could be a replace, a double, whatever. He's only a a head president of one part of the corporation. China owns another part, India owns another part. I told you, they sold the United States a long time ago. It went into bankruptcy and it was basically liquidated. So you have all these foreign conglomerates who are ruling over this what you consider to be the United States. Okay. But what was I saying? Oh yeah, I was gonna address that. Um, one of the things I have to say when I came into the lipless realm is, someone said, why is that a big deal? Lipless people aren't natural. Those are some sort of primates. Primates don't have lips, right? You're asking why I'm concerned. I'm a little concerned if I'm going into a realm where there's lipless people, and I haven't left it. And they're in this particular dimension, not only are they aren't lipless, they're trying to cosplay like they have lips. They've got all these weird lips. You see all this tutorials, like the realm I came from, y'all, people had lips, whether they were lunar, whether they were brown, Asian, they had lips. Not big lips. Everyone has variations of different lip sizes. But to be lipless, that's either grays or that's a primate, some sort of primate. Primates don't have lips and they have hair all over their body. Okay. I know people like to say brown people are primates, but I'm gonna give you a little science fact. Brown people are less primate than others. Why? Is because in order to be a primate and have a lot of that genealogy, you would have to have a lot of hair on your body, fur, and you would have no lips. Whether you're brown, lunar, Asian, or whatever, you would be lipless and you would have fur on your body. So those people who are obsessed with going to get waxes on their faces and their backs, their stomachs, and all kinds of cookies and wookies in between their legs, those are primates. Okay. So I know people like to project themselves on others. Okay. But that's just a sign. You can look that up. That's a science fun fact. Those who are closely related to primates are literally people who have a lot of fur on their bodies and have no lips. Okay. And why it concerned me that I jumped into a realm with lipless people is because that means we have a world of very degenerative people who like to play with poop and fecal material. That means you got a lot of people who like to have anal sex and all that stuff. And they're cosplaying and getting all these lip things in their lips. I saw these young girls getting like they were like 19, 18, getting pumped, like stuff pumped in their lips. I'm in another realm, y'all. And in this realm, they say that Black people, melanin people, are from the ghetto. The realm I came from before, only Jews, Ashkenazi Jews, are from the ghetto. I don't know where this realm is, but in my realm, where I originally came in the timeline, ghettos were associated with Jews. When since have they been associated with melanated people? They weren't even, they're the original Israelites. So I'm in another realm. Okay. I just want to add that because someone was saying something about the realm with the lipless people. It's not a good thing. It's either grays, because grays don't have mouths. Either those are grays that are trying to make themselves look humanoid to kind of fool y'all, or they're primates and they're literally like hybridized to make them look more humanoid. Okay. I just want to throw that in there. And stop calling, I don't know what realm, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to say this. I know you're in a different realm. Ghettos are for Jews, and it was created for Jews, Ashkenazi Jews. Stop saying ghetto associated with brown people. I don't know where that came from. I'm not from that realm. So I'm just putting that out there. The word ghetto and what it was created, that's like a place that they put Ashkenazi Jews after World War II. I don't know what realm this is. Okay, I may trigger you because you're from this timeline, but I refuse to associate brown melanated people who are more from the land and from, more nature, and associate them with like concrete, smart cities and freedom cities that were directly created for a bunch of European Jews that are Khazars that were supposed to be placed there so that they could be watched and monitored. Okay, so just FYI. Am I starting off messy today? Peace, everyone. So, we're at 500. Let's get it in, y'all. So, As you've seen in the news and late, many of you witnessed, unfortunately, gratefully, many people survived the last plane debacle with the plane flipping, the Delta plane flipping over. And I'm really grateful that everyone survived that on the plane. That was the last plane. I think there was another one after that. Um, can someone tell me? I think there was another plane accident after that. I might be, maybe I'm a plane late. But needless to say, we've had several different weird plane debacles. Some exploded. I want to say sorry for those. And it's interesting that people aren't looking to see who's on those planes. I mean, if you're going to do research, you can, if you know, I know they don't give you the manifesto. It's not like you can get access to that. But you know, some of these planes that are going down, y'all, you would be interested to find out, were there interesting people on any of these flights? Okay. There was a nasty man and woman that were on one of those planes that was stealing land from some melanated people. That's why I said melanated people from where I came from, they lived on farmland, they lived in the jungles, they lived like in by the beaches. That's where I come from. That's the timeline I come from. Hopefully I'll be returning there because this one is a little weird. But the people on one of these planes, I forgot which one it was, they were some uh pirates of the mainland that attempted to rob and steal land from some melanated people that had a lot of acreage over time, and they were attempting to encroach on that property. Well, actually, they passed away in one of these plane crashes. I'm sorry to hear that. So you should really research to see who's on these planes, okay? Now, remember we discussed the fact that I've related to you for many years now, even though some of you have criticized me and said I was mentally ill for telling you we're going through a pole shift, right? And some of you are still in denial, thinking that all of these weird weather wars, Detroit, literally underwater freezing, all the cars froze in, that all of these weird weather phenomenon are just natural. And if you would listen to your handlers, oh, I'm sorry, your governmental officials, oh, I'm sorry, Willy Wonka to the League of Doom, they will have you thinking that this is all a byproduct of destabilized, uh, global warming. Okay. I mean, you can listen to your handlers. You know, that's what they're there for. That's what social media was created for. That's what control opposition is for. That's why you have all of these amazing handlers that are handling all of your television, all of your social media. And if you say anything naughty, they will make sure that you aren't heard, your algorithm goes down, or they might X you out like that. Because God forbid you could talk about anything like that. So I know that many of you are experiencing now really heightened weather anomalies, cold specifically. And what I'm asking for you to do is maybe interrelate the cold weather with a previous phenomenon that might have shown up days or a week before called the bioengineered fog of mass destruction. Now, we talked about this fog. I have to drink, y'all. I was fasting and I'm at the tail end of fasting. So I've got water and hot tea. Okay. So just bear with me. During this time when we had the fog of mass destruction, which a lot of you have experienced, and the fog wasn't just uh the fog wasn't just located in the United States, even though we'd like to think that the United States is being focused on and prioritized for all geoengineered weaponry. It is ground zero for geoengineered weaponry, but there are others who are participants in this bioorganized weather war. UK has been experiencing some sort of phenomenon also with the fog. And big up to our UK family. Even though on social media they want to roll this new geoengineered beef between brown melanated women from the United States and brown women from the UK, please watch that, sea stars. Do not fall for the okie doke of the controlled opposition trying to push coups and beef where it doesn't have any relation or really relevancy. That's all a psyop. Please don't fight one another. It doesn't matter if you're from the UK and you're from the US. We're all under the same tyranny called the Bioborgs mass destruction, Greys, which Eisenhower contracted all of the humans on the planet, a certain percentage of you to be used for fodder and for harvesting of your organs and for breeding. That's why many women and children are being confiscated and kidnapped in the middle of the daylight. Okay, don't fight each other. But in the UK, big up to our UK family. I have zero beef with you because you are related to what's going on with the geoengineered fog, which many of you have done your due diligence to do testing and actually look at the fleas, the nano fleas that are all in the fog. And as many of you know, a lot of people have been going and having some issues. And I want to give a shout out to my friend who is my ex's best friend, who's doing better. He, to me, is a victim of this geoengineered fog along with the kill shot, because you know it's a combination platter. You can't just have one. You have to have multiple versions of Inception by your Willy Wonka system, because they love you so dearly. They love you so much that they're just the land that keeps giving and giving and giving. So anyway, yeah, so we're talking about the fleas that were in there, okay? And the nano fleas. And if you want to look, if you look any further, you just have to do your due diligence. I could be crazy. I could be mentally ill. You could vet this out fairly quickly by just doing your due diligence, not looking at mainstream media, and going a little further into the rabbit holes of reality, which are the multitude of independent sites that will discuss many people's findings of what they have discovered the fog was made of. And big up to Dalmache, who's on my Zombies, my channel, who also did her due diligence because she wasn't going to just believe what everybody else said. She actually showed us on a video the actual filter. I'm going to try to show that video if I can find it. The actual nano, because when you look with your eyes, you don't see it in the fog. It just looks like regular fog. But when you actually isolate the pixels and you see it in their camera, especially if there's a contrast between day and night, you'll actually see these little flying looks like snowflakes when it's not snowing. Okay, this should concern you. And how is this related to the planes? It's a combination platter, and let me just finish going on with the weather wars. There's a combination of pole shift weather and the dark Kabbalists, the Babylonians, the Satanic Cabal, the low field 8 people, the Greys, the geoengineered clones, the handlers, the freaking dark Cabal, the Zionist mass destruction, the Khazars from hell. All these beings are participants and making your lives very difficult and almost uninhabitable in this supposedly wonderful experience we call the hologram in the Matrix, or under the biodome, or the what do you call it, what is it, the firmament. Okay, so we have a combination platter. We have beings that are already preempted in knowing that during our cycle inside of the simulation, there will always be a reset at the end. And when reset begins, then the pole shift takes over to clear up, and then they start over again from scratch from anybody who's recycled with your soul back into the simulation experience. Some of you are sentenced here, unbeknown to you. So we have that going on at the same time. Many people are feeling ill. And of course, while they're rolling out the fog, they're telling you there's a whole bird flu and taking your eggs off the shelf as if that is going to push and confirm the bird flu even more. And what's interesting is you have people who have independent coops, independent chickens who are saying that their birds are just fine. Maybe it's the multitude of vaccines that you're giving the birds that look like bioengineered hybrids. No bird in nature would have white feathers and pink eyes. You think that's natural? Then you add a couple of cocktails of bioweapons inside of them. And I don't know if you watch Clone Tyrone, it was literally giving a warning, just like Get Out gave you a warning, just like Nope gave you a warning. Like, why don't you listen to the cues and hues on television? Those are cues within the simulation telling you what you need to watch out for. It's almost like when you play Resident Evil. Right before you're about to go into a new scene in Resident Evil in a video game where something is about to happen, a television shows up, an article shows up, kind of detailing the overall objective of why you're going to see what you're about to see soon. Okay? I don't trust men who would even engage with colonizing with people who are the bloodline of colonizers. Why? Is because you're already usurped. And those traps were those honey traps were set up for you. Men don't realize there were honey traps set up from the colonizers, knowing that they wanted to ruin the cohesion of the melanated families. That's what, many people thought desegregation was about integrating people into a wonderful system of love, unification, better productivity, better access. It actually was a psyop in order to break up a very beautiful cinched community that literally was able to protect itself and more communal and be able to pull in especially the men, because men are more subjected to easier infiltration by females. If you don't believe me, go look at the CIA records. Whenever they want someone to infiltrate the government, on any level, officials, they'll get Russian women. It's Russian women. Russian, Eastern European women, very beautiful women, just, you know what I mean? And very strong, not emotionally connected. They're very dedicated to their nationality. They'll send those honeypots in to psyop and to usurp a governmental official to be able to gain information like spies. But most brown communities didn't realize they had their own honeypot scheme, and it was of colonizing blood. So what they did is they set up a way to bring brown people into an environment. Again, this is where I come from in the other timeline. Okay, this is historical facts where I come from, and they basically mind socially engineered lunar women to fetishize brown men's penises, wands, and they already set up a psychological warfare on brown men, pulling away, making it seem like they can't have lunar women when they were objectified, subjugated to abuses, whipped, killed. So then they open up the floodgates. So psychologically, now they can accrue that which was denied and where they had a lot of consequences for it. So it was a perfect poison. So now you got honey pots basically taking on, especially if they're very renowned, wealthy brown men who have any wealth and any esteem, because that way you can keep all the resources outside of the brown community and pool it into another community so that you perpetually keep them limited resource-wise. But it was the perfect scheme. It's worked. Now you've got a lot of young lunar women, they don't even know they were under mind control programming, constantly seeing images of the nasty Kardashians, which are witches, projecting these constant cravings for brown penis, brown wands, and projecting that out there. So socially engineering lunar women to crave that from a more primitive standpoint. sex is very, sex can be very primitive, especially when it's internalized, if it's internalized from a place and it's controlled and changed with social media. And then they created the amazing honeypot scheme. So now you have people like Kanye West, which is not Kanye West, it's Ye, which is a clone, perpetuating that imagery. And Lunars, you should not be happy because he's making lunar women look absolutely disgusting with having his wife. And I don't know about y'all, but when a man loves a woman, I don't know that he wants every man looking at her cootie cat and her breasts of mass destruction publicly. So he's doing a public shaming of lunar women because she's beautiful. She's a nice looking woman, y'all. She's from Australia. She had dark hair. She dyed her hair blonde. So it even it amplifies that whiteness. So you got a brown man humiliating a lunar woman on the red carpet. You know what kind of psyop that's doing? What kind of craziness that's doing to the environment? Who's watching that? Yo. And someone said it's not about color. Everything's about color, my love. If nothing was about color, we wouldn't have colored TVs. If nothing was about color, you wouldn't have blue and red representation of Republican and Democrat. If nothing was about color, you wouldn't be matching your Prada dresses with your, Milano Blanc shoes. If nothing was about color, we wouldn't differentiate people's nationalities based on complexion on your birth certificates. So stop it right now. You must know that PSYOPs used every angle to control every aspect of the humanoid's experience in this hologram. Okay. Am I being messy? I can't read your comments. People are being triggered, but the honey traps are working. Brown men, keep doing what you're doing because you're showing yourself. So I don't trust brown men who jump into the honeycomb trap because I already know they've been psyop. Just like I don't trust people who constantly reverberate in actions and in thoughts, anything that's projected on social media. Give you example, like if all of a sudden everybody says, oh my God, this is the bomb, you got to do this dance, they all do the same dance, the same dance on TikTok, because TikTok was a psychological warfare app that controls and creates a electrical, it's like to create a way to make people's attention span very short and to encourage replicated and clone behavior. And I've told you, as a dancer, I'm innate as a dancer, meaning I have rhythm, meaning that I can hear a beat and I don't have to do a choreography dance in order to hit the beat and dance. And then I'm also a trained dancer where I can take on choreography and utilize my natural innate biological makeup and create my own way of utilizing that choreography and make it my own. Whereas TikTok is got a whole bunch of clone beings, basically, who are doing the same dance and not even putting their own spin on it because they want you to want to encourage clone behavior. It's the same way that you see girls do the same eyelashes, the same hairdos, the same outfits. Like, God darn it, if I look into a sea of girls, it looks like I'm looking into a sea of clones. Uniqueness isn't encouraged in this type of environment. Willy Wonka and his League of Doom have done a great job at socially engineering the mindset of the sheeple because they are highly, highly subjected to mind control programming. They're very receptive to it. That's why I don't trust anyone who, when tattoos were given out and they said, go get a tattoo, and they had black ink and everything, they got a tattoo. I don't trust anyone who, when cucarachas came out and I told you it was a kill shot, you got it because everybody was getting it and you believe them. I don't trust you if you are participating in veganism only because it's become a fad. People who follow trends and fads are highly mind controllable, and those are people you should avoid. They are always indoctrinated and easily cold into believing or practicing or engaging in activities that have been socially engineered for them to do so. Okay? So those are just, and I'm just giving you my opinion. Okay. There's a lot in this. And I told you already in this realm, I only think there's about, I can't say it because every time I say it, one of our songsters gets upset. I know we're in a video game. It's not a game, but it feels like a game. It's a simulation. It's 1000% a simulation. None of this is real. You chose an avatar with certain kind of things. You can only accrue certain avatars based on skill set and based on credentials. If you are number one enemy, which the brown woman is in this simulation, you have earned the credit score, meaning incarnations where you earn the ability to take on the most hated avatar because you are about to have an option to opt out of the simulation altogether. So congratulate yourselves if you've come here as a melanated woman as number one target up in this piece. It's a beautiful day. You should not hate yourself for your melanated skin. You should not hate yourself for your coily hair. You should not hate yourself for your chocolate chip eyes or your thicker natural bee sting lips or your narrow waist and your big bum bum, naturally, not instituted or implanted. Okay. You should be grateful. Now, people would say, oh my God, FleurBrun, that's so colorist. Why are you saying brown women? Okay. First of all, there are many beings in here that aren't real. So when I say this and you look at all social media of these brown women, the one had a penis on, she's putting dildos and doing, those are NPCs. They're not even real. What they do is because you have accrued an avatar, if you're a soul, they will make every image in the NPCs be diabolical, low vibrational, so it will give more credence to the abuses and the negative thought and the attacks towards you. So what I'm saying is that the whole environment is geoengineered to make you look like a devil, like a whore, like low vibrational. All the NPCs are programmed in here that are brown, and then people think that all brown people that way, but they don't realize the ones that are soul beings, which are only a few, handful, they are brown, but they have to fight in this realm to be able to make it to the next outside of the firmament. So it's like a video game. You can only accrue the strongest avatar at the end, but at the end, you're going to meet the most diabolical aversions because you're not going to easily get out of the firmament. You got to make it out, and you got to be targeted because that earns your credentials to make it out. It's a video game. Okay. So it doesn't matter what anyone says about you. It is purposefully done, and you should be, if you're a soul, because not everybody who's brown is a soul. Not everybody who's lunar is a soul. I personally think there's only 44. I know people are going to hate me for saying this, but I only think there's about 44 players in here. You're going to think that's insane. I only think, and I only use that number is because 44 is replicate. It's a big number. Like even like you see it a lot, and it's in a simulation stamped as a numerical value of something biblical. So I personally think that that number is valid, but I think just like with any video game, and for all you video game people in here, you can relate because in a video game, if we're going to go play as a group, there's going to be about 4 of us that go in together. There's never going to be more than that, maybe 10 if we have a bigger group of friends, but generally like 4. I know people who play like 3, 4, and when you go into the game, you're going in as 4 and you're picking your avatars, specifically picking certain avatars, and you can't get some of the best avatars because unless you've earned a certain amount of points or credentials to get some of the hardest avatars. So in order to get the hardest level, you would have had to earn and jump into those higher realms of playing the game. That's why I say the brown melanated women who are real in here, they have earned to choose that avatar, and they are the number one enemy of the state in here. That's why everything is attacking them. But everything is emulating them at the same time. As much as they're being attacked, everything's emulating them. So that lets you know their value and what they are in long-term range. And then when you get in the video game, it's 4 of you that go in the video game. You pick your avatars, you pick your skill sets, you go into the avatar, and guess what? You get in there and it's 50 million NPCs. There's NPCs that look like your avatar. There's NPCs that don't look like your avatars. There's NPC. So this is what I'm saying. I only think there's 44 players in here. I think there's only 40. No, you think I'm insane? I don't, it doesn't matter. I'm just, I've seen a lot, I've experienced a lot. And people who are constantly looping, they're controllable. They follow the narrative. They're constantly triggered and following the alignment of whatever is geoengineered by the so-called villains in here. They're not real. They're actually part of their characters in the game. So this is what I'm saying. You don't have to, nobody has to agree with me. This is what I've come upon. There aren't a lot of players in the game. There's about 44 of us in here. And how you know is they're very unique. They don't stand in a square. They don't follow the narrative. They're not saying, oh, unalived. You ever go online and they just follow whatever's, where did the word unalived? Who made that up? You come online, you're supposedly a whistleblower and you're like, oh, they were unalived. Who, the jab, like even when it's called the jab, like who made up the jab? It's a kill shot. It's a vaccine. Why would you make it up and follow it? Like everyone was saying the jab, like, and they followed it without questioning why that was utilized as the terminology. Like who created it and why are you saying it? And why do you follow what everybody else does? Or is it that you're not real? Right? It's all a game. So for the 44 who are in here, big up to you. And if you don't get an idea of what I'm saying, go watch the movie Bliss. Bliss will give you an understanding of what exactly I know. And people had asked me, what about the children and the animals in your family? I think I've explained this before, and I kind of explain it again. When you go, let's take Dorothy, right? I always use the Wizard of Oz because it's a great example. Dorothy was in Kansas, right? And this weather phenomena comes, uproots her, takes her from her original timeline, and switches her and flips her into another dimensional timeline where she coexists. In that timeline, she has remnants of her previous timeline because now she's in a new dimension, but she didn't bring anybody with her. She only came by herself. But her mind geoengineered and created, because we're living in a simulation, beings that were reminiscent of the beings outside where she originally came from. The tiger, the lion, the scarecrow, the witch, and even Toto. Okay? She is but one, and she is projecting aspects of what she knows and who she is outside of the firmament. I liken Kansas to being outside the firmament and her being pulled into a geoengineered world where everything is a reflection of her thoughts and her memories. So she creates these characters with her mind that are reminders of the beings that were real to her outside the firmament. I'm giving you an example. Inside of Oz, they feel real. They have real experiences. She's learning about herself, but they are all aspects of her. The lion represents the courage that is needed that she hasn't felt that she's had, but she's had it, but she has to basically become aware of it. The scarecrow is her not having the confidence to know that she knows everything that she needed to know, but she has to come back into her awareness that she's always had the ability to discern, to utilize her intelligence, to be able to navigate her world. The Tin Man represents her heart, which she felt she didn't have because it was broken because of some of the experiences she had outside the firmament. So she had to realize that her heart has always been there. It just needed to be reanimated and felt again, and just feel and be able to utilize her heart to navigate through the world she considers to be the Wizard of Oz. Okay, so when I explain to you that when I say to you there's only 44 people, and I'll give you another example, good movie to see if you want to get an example of what I know. You may not agree, but what I know is you can watch this. It's really a weird movie. It's called Nine, and it's about a scientist who the government is going after. Does it sound familiar? And he, in order to escape being captured or them finding out what he was doing, he splintered himself into 9 little doll-like beings. So there were all aspects of himself that were splintered from that bigger scientist, that one scientist, and splintered into 9 versions of him. And then they kind of get reincorporated later. Okay. So when I talk about there only being 44, you have geoengineered, if you're a real being, like Pinocchio, a real boy, if you're a real being, then anything associated with you is you. So you worrying about your children, your dogs, your mom, your dad, you shouldn't have to worry because it's all you. They get reincorporated in you, and there's aspects of them that exist outside the firmament. That's why you co-created them in the firmament. So you worrying about the attachments you have in here is why you'll experience what the guy did in Bliss. Okay? Just take a yonder and just work with it. You know, if you think I'm psychologically unwell, you can always vet it out by taking the references that I give you and being able to vet it out yourself. There's only 44 in my knowing right now. It could change, but 44 human, well, I want to say human because that may be a concept that's not real outside the firmament, what we perceive to be as human. 44 soul essence beings in here, meaning beings that chose to, well, or was sentenced into this holographic system, who are engaging and projecting other beings in here, and who are participating in the alignment of seas of NPCs and characters that are part of the simulation. Could be mental illness that I'm experiencing, but after watching and seeing all and witnessing all that has been done, I've further confirmed that I'm absolutely correct and true in what I know. So let's go into the planes dropping out of the sky. A couple of things that have happened. You know, I know that Willy Wonka is Link of Doom. You know that Trump had one of Trump's team had fired, if I'm not mistaken, the FAA, the gentleman who was head of the FAA. And I think as, you know, as classic in everything that's adverse to Trump, I think that what they did was geoengineered along with utilizing the fact that we're in a full magnetic pole shift and basically create all of these, you know, airplane crashes as a protest and as an anti to Trump's decision of getting rid of the head of FAA. Someone can correct me if it's the FAA that he, that one of his team fired. Can someone verify that? Okay. So that being said, is that we're seeing a combination platter of purposeful detonated geoengineered crashes. And, you know, and just for good measure, there are some notable people on some of these planes that are probably just wonderfully, just an extra, it's like the cherry on the cake. We could take out one of our ops while we create this narrative of like F you Trump kind of, you know, antage right now. Okay, so I think it's a combination platter. Also, we have a geomagnetic flipping going on where, you know, the magnetic north and south are shifting and everything in the sky is really kinetic. And then you've got SpaceX by the BioBorg Synthetica himself adding to this mix, along with the 40,000 plus satellites were put in from 2020, you know, 2020 on. Okay, now you have to ask yourself, like, why are these Bioborgs and why are these simulated people going crazy and these main characters going crazy? Because they know they have an internal clock, a cylindrical patterned clock that lets them know that we're about to go through reset. And they are going to be either, well, they're going to be removed as hardware, almost like a Westworld thing, or they're going to have to find a way to stockpile all of things they need. Thus why you have crazy kidnapping and super duper harvesting of children and organs right now, because they are getting ready for a long time to have to be under or hidden inside of their underground bunkers until the reset is over and pole shift is over. This is something that happens, and it's not 3,600 years. They're going to tell you that because that's part of the narrative that they'll tell you. It's like every couple hundreds of years, the reset happens. Okay. I personally, and this may be wrong, but it's just what I've witnessed and just kind of studied a little bit. It seems like whenever there's a big world war, because um, the general secession is always the same. So it makes me think that world wars are meant to cover up pole shifts, so that in historical and any historical references, you wouldn't think it's a pole shift, you would think it's a war, why so many people were unalived, dead, killed, you know? So I think it's a cover. I think the world wars that we see, Korean War, World War One, World War Two, soon to be World War Three, all of these wars, I personally think might be covers to a pole, to a reset. There's soft resets and there's full resets. So I think we may have soft resets when the war is something very minuscule, and when it's a bigger world war, like a big World War One, I think it's a hard reset. And some of you work in the technical field can probably kind of translate that language a little better, so that we kind of understand that in layman's terms, as it interrelates to like the computer or the electronics. You know what I mean? You probably are better at that. I'm not so good. And when people are saying that, that gives a whole new concept, because this is what I know, is that when we were going from the past, what we perceive to be the past, that's the future, and we're going back to the past. What do I mean by this? This is okay, so I'm going to kind of explain what I mean. In order for us to wake up out of the simulation, we would have to go back in time to our past, which is more technologically advanced. The future that you perceived is, and you consider to be the past, that's more of it's more when things are not existing, or they're how do I explain? They're they're kind of like they're not existing, they're destroyed. It's kind of like that, how the pyramids look old and decrepit. But where we come from when we go back to our past, because we kind of went in reverse to come into this simulation, when we roll back into the past, back to 0 point, we would go back to a more heightened technological realm, because that's where we came from to even enter into the simulation. You can't go out of the simulation back into a heightened technological world with a remedial mindset. We can't go back saying ooga booga booga, pick and poop out our butts. You know what I mean? We can't do all that. You would have to, if you acknowledge what I state, if you want to qualify it, I'm just saying, in order for us to wake up out of the simulation to a more advanced technological field, we would have to go back into what we perceive is our past, which is more technologically advanced. Because to wake up outside of that, you would be psychologically damaged. It's kind of like Inception. You have to wake up in layers. And where we come from is more advanced than whatever we're seeing right now. So even though people are scared of the AI, people are scared of the cyborgs, even it's disconcerting, because we're coming from a more primitive placement and we're getting placed back into a more advanced technological placement, and it's not balanced yet because we haven't fully singed back into 0 point. So it's kind of like it's the equilibrium is a little off. Okay. But in order for us to wake up out of the simulation, we would have to be sped back in time, back to the future. We would have to go fast track, pass go, not collect the $200, and go back and have a heightened awareness into technology, so that when we wake up, we have somewhat of a sync with being okay with cyborgs walking around with hovering cars flying in the sky, having holograms that pop up and interfacing with them for directions in the street. Kind of like, isn't that Time Cop? Did you guys see the movie? I think Time Cop had that. Was Time Cop when they like simulations just pop in for directions? Hello, I need directions to so-and-so. Oh, sir, we can help you. Turn right here, so-and-so. And it was doing it in every language. I'm not sure if it was Time Cop. There was a movie I saw. Do you remember I don't know. It was a movie I saw, and it was kind of cool. It's like, you interfaced like, with things in front of you, like holograms in front of you. Okay. So, We have to be fast tracked to that. So what you're seeing is a combination platter between CyBorgs, and also with the CyBorgs that are now being reintroduced to us. They're being reintroduced. We were exposed to, if you're a real being, we probably came from worlds where the cyborg was the one who actually put us in our pods and are actually maintaining our pods as we speak. Probably simulated beings, probably. And I think that because Elon Musk is the head of this simulated cyborg face, I actually think that whatever we saw before we were input into this simulated place, it probably looked like Elon. So maybe it has one common face. That's why at the end, when we're going towards reset, Elon becomes like the face of, like the technocrats, you know what I mean? Because maybe his geoengineered image that we remember outside the firmament, in the world we came from. So like we geoengineered this image of a technocrat that looks like Elon because that looks like something outside. It's, maybe that could be the case. Okay. So right now we have that. So we have all these cyborgs. Now you have people buying cyber dogs. It's interesting. Remember I asked you to watch the movie War of the Worlds? It's like the modern one, which does not even match the older War of the Worlds. Remember the old War of the Worlds? It was kind of like, there was different ones. I think the one where Keanu Reeves was like the one before this last one. Excuse me. And then the one before Elon Musk was like the War of the Worlds was in the 60s. Was it the 60s or the 50s? I forgot. You guys can remind me of which one was the one in this. I think it was the 60s. I'm not sure. I don't think it was 50s. I think it was the 60s. But this particular War of the Worlds, you should definitely, if you haven't watched it, I think I've recommended for everyone to watch it. It's so different because it talks about beings from the past coming back to harvest themselves. I don't want to give, no, I shouldn't give you that much, but you should watch it. Okay. Kind of speaks to what I'm talking about right now. Right? Because the creatures that they were using to attack everyone looked like the cyber dogs that everyone's purchasing now. I don't know how, not everyone's purchasing, but there are people purchasing these dogs that look like those attack dogs in War of the Worlds. You see what I'm saying? And then also we got to bring up the numerology, the things that you come in this realm with certain stamps of energetic stamps when you're inserted in the simulation. You know how we talk about the binary codes as codes in here that literally are running systems as we see, and you can see that in the movie Lucy, when she becomes heightened in awareness, she goes into like, her brain goes up to what was like 70% or 80%, and she can actually see the binary codes, and she's actually moving them aside to find certain places to locate certain people in certain places inside of the Matrix. And you're also going to see that when you watch the Matrix, when you've got Tank working on where Neo and Morpheus and Trinity are, when he's looking at the monitor and he's looking at all these codes, he can see the apparitions in the codes, or rather the glitches in the codes. So he knows how those glitches show up for each individual that comes and is reinserted back into the Matrix. Okay. So I hope I'm not losing you. Is everyone here? Okay. So we have to know that the coding in here matters, but not only the coding that externally surrounds us, like energetically, but the coding that we all emanate ourselves. And it's coding that comes in, and we liken it to more remedial as astrological stamps. Like, are you a Leo? Are you a Virgo? Are you a Taurus? Are you a Scorpio? Okay, so you have that energy. Were you born in a 9 year? Were you born in a 1 year? Were you born in a 22 year? Okay, that's another stamp. Then if it's you Verdict, then are you like sidereal, well, you're a Leo in this realm, but sidereal wise, you're a Cancer. You know what I mean? So there's all of these stamps, and on Chinese astrology, which I think that has the most relevancy in this realm. And I want to repeat again, because I think people think I'm making this up. When they tell you that Africa is the oldest, Africans are the oldest. Now, let's take away from that, because Africa is an astounding continent. Obviously it is, because if it wasn't, they would be sending all the brown people from the Americas back to Africa. They don't want to do that because they know the resources there are too much, and they don't want to risk the fact that brown Americans might go over there, you know, get it crumping, and then take over the whole planet, okay, under the firmament. So if it wasn't that great, they would do that. They know it's great because they pirate off of the resources. They have colonized the entire continent. And how can I, confirm this? Is because the continent is riddled with European languages, which lets me know that they've been colonized in every way. Mozambique speaks French. I think it speaks Portuguese now. You've got the Congolese who speak French. You have Dutch spoken on the continent. You have German, even, like somewhere like, where is it? That's on the, like, close to South Africa side. What is it? I forgot. It's one of the places that the Belgian went over there and conquered. Anyway, so it's been taken over. Okay, so if that was the oldest, then they would have more technology. It isn't. That's an aspect of the past that hasn't been usurped yet. Okay, it's being up. Now, not all of Africa. Let me just say this. There are places in Africa that clearly, if you've not been there before, it is very advanced, like in Nigeria. There's places in like even Ethiopia. Like there's certain things, and also most of your major temples and pyramids are all located in Sudan, Ethiopia, Eritrea, the same people that are the faces on the tombs and all of the Egyptian Kemetic artifacts in what you could perceive as Egypt. Those are the same people. That's the same gene pool that was living in Egypt, or Kemet, ancient Kemet. And why they change it from ancient Kemet, the land of the black. Let me state this again, because for young people who don't know history, because history is usually rewritten several times to fulfill a narrative that is progressive to some and digressive for others. Okay, but for those who, just for icks and giggles, you do know that the name Egypt is not the organic name of that region, and you do know there wasn't any such thing as the Middle East. It was all Africa. Okay, and it was changed from Kemet because obviously they wanted to pull away the complexion thing so that you wouldn't perceive that the people that built those things were actually darker skinned. That was purposefully done. And you could see that with the cutting off of the Sphinx's nose, anything that had a wide nose, anything that would perceivably look like a Negro was altered. Or, even on the cleaning of some of the hieroglyphs, they were whitened. Okay. That's the term whitewashed. Okay. But Egypt was actually not the place of the most temples and pyramids. It was actually Sudan. If you go to Sudan and Ethiopia, like y'all, even the whole concept of Christianity, that came out of Ethiopia, right? Like if you look at the oldest books, they all came out of all religion. Personally, I think the Abrahamic religions, I actually think they came out of Ethiopia. Because if you look at all of they just found an amazing, beautiful temple over and it was in a mound, and it was in Ethiopia, or was it Eritrea? It was at the border maybe. And it had all these Christian images of crosses and so on. So all of these things are located in that area. We're not talking about that. That's an aspect of the past, which is kind of like a future. Anyway, but the most advanced places, Africa is not the most, it is not the oldest. If it is oldest, then it's going to be more advanced and it'll be more technologically advanced, which is where? In what continent? Asia. Okay. And I talked about genetically that Asians hold the blueprint of all people. Okay. Why do I say this? Because when you see something like what you perceivably know as Mongolianism or Down syndrome, it is an encryption within the chromosomal makeup. What happens when an encryption happens, or when there's a default in the chromosomal component, it will default to the blueprint of the humanoid, which is Asiatic. That's why when you see Down syndrome children, and my mother can confirm this, working for special ed for special ed for God, not over 35 years, all children with Down syndrome had same texture, similar texture hair and similar eyes, whether they were lunar, brown, Asian, what have you, mixed. If you have an encryption, it will default to the blueprint. And if you have all these so-called races, but when they get an encryption, they all have the same features show up, even same texture, that lets me know that that's the blueprint, which is Asiatic. That's why when even you look at the ETs, any kind of ETs, what kind of eyes do they have, y'all? They have Asiatic eyes. Even if you look at the certain grays, certain other ETs, they have very slanted eyes. Big, but nonetheless slanted. That is why in the UFO community, the number one groups that they never speak about as far as ETs having a humanoid look are Asiatics and brown people, because the original people living in Asia at the time had darker skin, and they had Asiatic features, which is reminiscent of what was in the Americas, which I personally think is the original Egypt, where the people were reminiscent of copper, dark-toned, Asiatic-looking beings. I actually think they're part of the originators who came into this firmament, probably the original phenotypes that were in the firmament. And then you have all these variations that came later because people were geoengineered. And as I worked in a laboratory, which many of you know, and in a laboratory, we don't work with brown mice often, okay? Usually it's white mice and white rats. And you say, well, in nature, where do you get them from? You geoengineer them. In nature, just like chickens, you're not going to see a whole bunch of white chickens walking around with pink eyes and light eyes. It's not a characteristic that would be helpful to them, because it would be more locatable by hawks and other animals that would make them prey upon them. But also nature doesn't support that kind of phenotype. So in a lab, you usually strip the melanin, and also in order to usurp the gene, the membrane of the cell, I can't have a coating of melanin because I can't usurp the cell. I can't incept anything. What I do is I'll strip the cell, the melanin off the cell, which then changes the phenotype to no more melanin. Then I can incept the cell. You can look this up, y'all. Okay, so we know that before a certain time, there was no lighter skinned people on the planet, according to a lot of even the ancient books. There was no color, there was no fair skinned people. So that came later. So when you look in Asia and you're seeing very fair skinned, very light people, you also have to ask your question, how natural is that? And you know that Asia has batches of people, especially like in China, where you have 50 million people with the name Li, and they all look similar. And then you have 50 million people with the name Chow. I actually think that they are geoengineered hybrid clones that were created. That's why, they look a certain way and they all have the same batch number, batch name. Okay, you could do that in a laboratory. Batches, usually big batches, you give one name to. Okay, so I think their fair skin, it's fair to say, was literally geoengineered and hybridized to make them more mind controllable. Okay, and not all Asians are very fair skinned. If you look at Southeast Asia, places like Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand, Polynesia, Philippines, even in like Korea and Japan back in the days, people all had darker skin. And Asia has, you guys always like to blame the Africans for bleaching their skin, but Asia by far is the number one bleachers of skin. They bleach their skin almost to the same degree, if not more, than Africans. Okay, so you're actually seeing a look of people that is not real. Okay, so and that is something you can actually look up yourself. Bleaching of skin, they sell more bleach skin products than probably anywhere else on the earth. Okay, and you have to think, where did that come from? That didn't come from Europeans. There's not that many Europeans. Europeans are 7% of the global population. 7. So when you look at the Asians that are fair skinned that replicate, because someone said, oh, they replicate themselves, they're trying to look like Europeans. No, they're not. No, they're not. maybe now, later on with all the social media, but before, that wasn't the reason why they were trying to bleach your skin. There was something else that was in that mix, because Europeans, though they have a lot of influence now, then they didn't. So that bleaching came from somewhere else. It was not a Europeanized thing. That came from something else that they were trying to do, or maybe encouraged to do, or socially engineered to do, but it had nothing to do with Europeans. They're only 7% of the population and global population. Okay. So we can't blame Europeans for everything. Certain things, yeah, but even out of the Europeans, it's only like 0.000 who are doing anything, like the Khazars. And I don't even think they're Europeans. They come from Eastern Europe, but they're daros. They're like some sort of elephant-nosed beings that came from the subterranean, like Caucasus Mountains. They came out of it. They didn't even know what they were. So I don't like to blame Europeans for everything, because if you look in what happened in Europe, and you know what I'm saying, they weren't happy with these beings, and they did not perceive those Khazars being anything like them. Okay. And those are the ones kicking up the smoke on this realm. And I've talked about the Khazars, which will use daros. I actually think they're the golem that they call everybody else. I actually think they're projecting. Just like the whole thing with the ghettos. The ghettos, they're projecting it on another group of people, so they remove themselves from it. The ghettos were for Jews. I will say this, in the realm I come from, the ghettos are where Jews live. Okay. And these daros are subterranean. And when they came up, they were foul looking. Their noses were bulbous. They had their head is kind of like predator a little bit. They got the long thing on their head. They didn't look like the Europeans there. So I don't liken them to be Europeans, even though they hide in that group. Okay, there is some sort of subterranean group, and they use a lot of telepathy for them to take over the entire globe, y'all. Do you know what kind of power they have? It was denoted in a lot of the archives when the daros came upon Europe through the Caucasus Mountains. Okay, they were unclothed, mostly males. They had big elephant noses. Could be why there's such remnant connection to that image in ancient India. I don't know if it's the same being, hopefully not, but they had these big noses, right? And what they said at the time when the Europeans first came upon these daros, which were diabolical, they were scary, they looked like goblins to them, they literally said that they had some sort of mind control powers. And you got to ask yourself, oh my God, that makes so much. How does less than 0.0000% of the population control? Because remember, the entire firmament is the majority brown. Variations of brown, light brown, tan brown, red brown, dew brown, whatever brown. Even certain Europeans are brown. Okay, the original Europeans were brown. How can 7% of Europeans are the population, which is a very minuscule number? How does less than one, like 0.0000001, how could they take over the entire planet? Politically, they own all the banks, all the social media. They own your president because he didn't put his hand on the Bible, Bible, okay? He paid, AIPAC paid him how much money? Okay. How did they take over your government? How was 9/11 and all that stuff done, and nobody questioned that area where these beings are, their hub is right now? How come nobody did anything? Because they're using a technology. And some of that technology is something that they have in their minds. That's why they're ritualistic. I have a feeling, and I don't know this for a chance, I have to kind of study this a little bit more. How is it possible that these daros were able to not only come in looking monstrous, looking like abominations of anything that was natural in this firmament, not only come in and take over, it's because they use some sort of mind control. Because even in the images, look up the daros, y'all, you see like oh, my nail broke. You see like these what do you call it? Like, when you see in a comics when they're doing something with their mind, you see like these spirals. You see spirals when they're talking to them, and like they're taking over their mind. And I personally think there's a reason why they cover Now, remember, anyone who's had a baby, big up to all the mommies, daddies, abuelas, uncles, aunties, big sisters, big brothers. When you have a baby, which I have had a few, I'm grateful. The baby's head right here, right? Right? Now, some of you are very psychic, can see things, auric fields. You'll know that when the baby's very little and this part is not closed quite yet, you can almost see a thread, right? You don't think it's odd that there's a group of people that put protection over that aspect of their head? Let me ask you. Let me see if I can read your comments. A little bit of delay. You don't think that's odd? You don't think it's odd that the very religious of them tell the women to shave off their heads and go and buy wigs of the same texture as the hair they shaved off and wear wigs over their heads, even though the texture of the wig is the same color? You don't think that's odd? I'm just asking. Because you know, a lot of times mind control can be done from here, your crown, because it's the softest, okay? You don't think it's odd? You know, I'm almost like who smelt it dealt it kind of thing. Like, it's interesting that I watch the very thing that people protect on themselves, but then project on other people. Why is that covered? The part of this part of their head, which is the skull, the weakest part of the skull that houses this kind of etheric thread that can be accessed. And why are the very religious of that specific group, why is it that they encourage their women to shave their heads and wear wigs of the same texture of their natural hair? We're not talking about brown women who are wearing weaves and so on. We're talking about European women, because now they look European. The daros have, you know, shapeshifted and merged, you know, they nicely merge with other groups to kind of take away from that really defoul look. Okay, so they look more European. That's a group that they're hiding in right now. But the Europeans are smart enough, unlike the Americans, to understand and understand what these beings were. I want to give a shout out to Europe, because Ireland especially, big up to Ireland, because, you know, I tell you, Ireland is like in my heart, y'all, and Scotland. Y'all are the only ones, France too, but y'all are broke up a little too much. You know what I'm saying? But I got to give a shout out to Ireland, Scotland. You're the Negroes. You're like treated like the dirty stepchildren of Europe. You and what's the other country? There's another country like you too. I forgot the other one. Y'all are the only ones who know who these beings are, speak against them, and you don't care. You don't give a not one darn how they perceive you. I gotta get a shout out to them. Because I'm not talking about the Irish in America that are colonized that came here. I'm talking about the Irish in Ireland. You know, when you listen to a people that are aware of what these beings did in Europe, you have no clue. There's a reason why all these countries kicked these daros out their country. And the daros will call you a golem, but that's what they are, because they're shapeshifters. You're going to call people clay people, but you're the very people that take on other people's backgrounds and shift yourself into whatever the environment is. That's why you all change your names all the time. Why are you changing your name? You don't want any traces. You don't want breadcrumbs to what you were before, you know? And you basically, whenever you go into a group, you make it advantageous. So you basically boof up the group around you. So it beefs up their status and their protection around you, so people don't see you in the group. Okay? This is the daros, y'all. Okay? And, you know, people say, oh, you're talking about the Jews. Let me explain something, y'all. The word Jew didn't exist. J doesn't exist. We're talking about Israelites. Okay? The original Hebrew Israelites is a totally different thing than what you perceive as Jews. When we say Jews, you're using it to a demographic of people that are constantly being perpetuated to you, but that's not Israelites. Hebrew Israelites is like 13 tribes of them. There's different variations. They look differently. Some are very fair. Some are from Turkey, Morocco, Ethiopia, Sudan, Africa, Nigeria. The Americas had a lot of, actually the original Israelites that were relocated out of certain other places in Europe. They're in the Caribbean. So you'll see a lot of the Jamaicans who have a lot of remnants, and Haitians who have a lot of that. That's why they were so feisty and fought against the others. Okay. So when you go to the Rastafari, and they carrying the book because they consider themselves to be Hebrews, right? And they carry the book with the Star of David on it. They perceive themselves to be one of the tribes of Sheba. That's an Israelite, okay? So when we talk about them, we're not talking about Jews. They consider what we perceive to be Jews are them, but they separated the term so that you don't see who was originally an Israelite as a Jew, but those are Jews. And what you call modern day Jews, those are Jews. Those are brown, melanated, lighter skin. Some of them are lighter skin, but they're Jews in modern day terms. Okay, so when people say, "Oh, you're talking about the Jews," please don't play that anti-Semitic nonsense with me, especially if you're not Semitic. If your name is Schwartz and you change your name to Thomas and you have only European, Polish, German, and European bloodline, I'm not talking about you. I can't be anti-Semitic if I have more Semitic blood than you. Okay, this is the word medley that they do, anti-Semitic. How could you be anti-Semitic when you are the Semitic? So you have to be anti yourself. Most of the people in the Caribbean are Semitic. Obviously in the Middle East, what was previously Africa, and obviously in Turkey and Spain and other places, those are Semites. Okay. Even when you hear the term Sephardic Jew, it is to take away, I almost feel it's, even though, many of you know you have the Ashkenazi and the Sephardic. Sephardics is perceivably, even though Sephardics house more of the Israelite bloodline, they're Semites, they're not perceivably seen on the higher tier of Judaism. They're actually seen as sub-tier. Okay. From what I know, any Jews in here, you want to just speak. And I'm speaking from my own knowledge. Okay. Coming from communities where I know this well. Okay. Semites are not treated very well, but the people calling anti-Semites aren't even Semites. They're Europeans that converted to Judaism by force because they were practicing Babylonian magic. With child sacrificing and eating children. And that's why all the countries were kicking them out. Okay. Look in the history books. Okay. You can see this. And your president, the one that y'all voted for, I don't vote for any of them because they're all under the same umbrella of the daros. Okay. Whether they're getting paid by the daros, whether they're part of the daros, because the daros marry into their families. If you notice, all the children of all the presidents are all married to Ashkenazis. Okay. Then you got to ask yourself, how come most of them have negative blood type? How come most of your presidents have negative blood type? You don't think that's odd? How come there's no positive blood type? If bloodlines matter, and I'm perceivably only looking at a surface, and all of the presidents that you voted in are negative risk, you don't think that there's an issue with that? Do you not think that there's some connection? Because negative blood has more of a hive type of mind. They can use their mind to get from the collective information. That's why they're very smart. And you don't think it's odd that during the whole cucarachas, when the whole pandemic rolled out, that was the #1 group, O negative, that didn't get a thing? You think that's by chance? You got to start thinking about biological weaponry, that many things are targeted, that melanated women are the #1 host of getting access to them so that they can do things. That's why I tell you, women, do not give any sort of your blood, anything to these bastards, because all they do is get a collective amount of your DNA so they can create biological weaponry towards you and those who look like you. Okay? Every time you go in the hospital and you give birth and you let them have the afterbirth of your baby, you're basically allowing these non-humanoid beings where we know they're not from here to utilize your genomes to do weaponry against you. And the men in jail, let me say this, the reason why they created prisons is to house more melanated, but let me say this, it's not true. Because there's less melanated people and men in jail, even though it looks in a ratio, it looks higher. Because I found out the numbers, y'all, the psyop is real. The majority of people in jail are not melanated men, brown men. Even though it's shown, I saw the numbers and it was like 30% of the population of melanated men, and it's 65% of lunars that are in jail. But because they say that on social media and they project that, that all brown people are criminals and they're the ones who are most in jail, and they constantly put only images of poor brown people participating in poor behavior, even though there's a lot of poor lunars that they don't put on television and use certain talking points and videos showing them acting in poor behavior. It's amazing to me that they were able to even create that kind of psyop, because it's untrue. But anyway, but needless to say, the brown men that are in prison, and brown men mostly, they are offering them $50 or more or less to take their blood. And brown men, the reason why they got you in jail is to, again, I told you about pooling brown people into non-segregation, which was a psyop. You should have kept segregated, because the beings that wanted access to you couldn't get access to you if you had your communal situations where you all protected yourself. Once they pulled you out of that and started placing you amongst everybody, now making you go to places where they have access to your blood, your children, your mind, your penis. Now they have access to you. And now in prisons, because many of you don't have family members that may be giving you commissary, and you need help, or maybe you don't have a support system, you're choosing, because it's all a choice, you're choosing to give up your bloodline to demons. And if you watch Jupiter Rising, y'all. Wait, Jupiter Ascending? What is it? Jupiter Ascending? Is it Jupiter Ascending or is it Jupiter Rising? What is it, y'all? Is it Jupiter Rising or Ascending? That movie. What is it? I forgot. Remember when she was going in to give her eggs? Remember? What was it? I'm gonna look and see. Remember when she was going in to give her eggs, the young lady? Oh, Jupiter Ascending. Thank you. Thank you. Happy. Remember that? And she woke up and these motherfucking grays. Because they weren't shapeshift. Remember? She was in the bedroom with her girlfriend, like, oh, hey. And then flash, she took a picture. It was grays. That's what I'm saying. The lipless people could be grays too. Because grays don't have mouths. You know that, right? They'll slit a mouth. They don't have mouths at all. That's how I know who's having contact with grays. They don't have mouths, okay? The grays were there. And they freaking were taking her eggs, because she had them special eggs. They were taking her eggs. Remember? Okay. So you got to watch. And also right now, let me give a shout out to our Sephardic sea stars. Please, Sephardic sea stars. These are the aspect of the Jews, but even the Israelites. I should start calling you Israelites, because you're really, the Sephardic Jews are Israelites. Please watch your eggs. Do not let them have access to your eggs, Sephardi. Because I got some news, and I can't say that yet. I'm reckless with my mouth, but I can't say that yet, because I get my information from Brooklyn. Big up to Brooklyn. Okay? Do not let them have access to your eggs. I don't care if you think you're storing them. I don't care if you don't let them have your eggs, because the Sephardi are the originals. So because they can't be the originals, they want access to your genomes. Okay? So please, if you have Sephardic sea stars, I don't care if you're from the Hebrew Israelites, I don't care if you're from Turkey, I don't care if you're from Kazakhstan, I don't care if you're from Nigeria, I don't care if you're from the Caribbean, I don't care if you're from Brooklyn, I don't care if you're from the Bronx, I don't care if you're from over in who's another big community? There's a little community in Hungary, I heard. I could be wrong. Anyway, please, Sephardites, Israelites, keep your eggs, okay? Because they want your eggs. Because the Khazars don't have a strong gene pool, because they've been inbreeding for so long. That's why they're maniacs. Just be careful. So you protect your eggs, okay? So anybody who knows Sephardic Jews, just talk to, I know, they're very, in their world, if they're practicing, it's cool. But just throw it out there, okay? They know this more than us, because they don't really go to any hospitals with regular people, because they're smart. Brownies for the United Fakes, you need to stop going to hospitals where other people have access to your gene pool. Start creating. There's a reason why they don't let athletes and actresses and people who have a lot of money create hospitals specifically for brown people, because they want access to your gene pool so they can harvest your organs and create specific create specific bioweapons directly toward y'all. Okay. So I'm just saying, if you're an athlete, if you're a superstar, Superstar. I would really give you more credit and I really respect it more if you would create hospitals and birthing centers specifically to brown women alone, because there's a host of others. And Lunas, do not get upset because you have options. You know, sometimes you get mad when I say this, but obviously you see the brown community hasn't done well since they've been you know, commingled with everyone. Okay. They're being called animals, thieves, you know, they're all on social media being caught doing things as if nobody else does it because that's what they want to put on there. They don't do well in places with everybody else. Okay. So if you want to be involved in the conversation, stop being defensive and just say, you know what? Brown people do better when they're by themselves, you know, basically coddling each other, taking care of each other and staying in alignment so that they can access to certain kind of healthcare that others can't get access to, so they don't create bioweapons for them. Okay, because you're all out of control. So guys in prison, you know, I just tell you this. I know that you're, you know, some of you, you know, it's very hard one because when someone is in that position, they make choices and it's a choice and they're basically ruining their whole bloodline. They're giving access just like Jupiter Ascending. Jupiter Ascending had a very specific bloodline. What was she? Was she Russian, y'all? What was she, Russian? Was she Russian, y'all? Was Jupiter Ascending? What was her nationality? They were speaking, what language was she speaking? Was she speaking Russian? Can you guys tell me? Because I don't remember. Was it Russian? She had a very specific bloodline that she should have been protecting. And they were going to pay her a lot of money. Can someone tell me? So, I forgot. I think it was Russian. Was it wasn't German. Because I think it was we'll see. Let me see if anybody knows. Oh, it was Ukraine? Was it Ukraine? Stop it. Was it Ukrainian? Was it Russian, Ukraine? Somebody said Ukraine. It was Russian. Okay, Yafi said Russian. Okay, it was Russian. There's a very specific bloodline. And remember, when we talk about the daros, when they came out of the Caucasus Mountains, these aliens coming from the subterranean, I don't know where they came from, y'all. There were accounts of these beings coming with big noses that came out of the subterranean. The Europeans over there, I think they came upon, would they come upon Russia first? Was it Russia? Because I know they were in that region, because it was the Caucasus Mountains, wherever they were, they want to mix with the bloodline of the Russians, because Russians have a very etched, you ever see Russians have very etched features, very strong features, very strong phenotype. You ever see Russians? Like if you want to ever get in a fight, I told you I was up in what was it, Vancouver, and a Russian man woman tried to approach me and was listen, she was ready to knuckle up, y'all. I've never seen that, and they did not back down. Normally people, you know, because I'm not a small woman, you know what I mean? Normally people keep a distance in case, you know, they don't know if I wild out. I won't, because I'm cultivated, but you know, you never know, because I could be triggered and I'm very petty. So, but this she, they were Russian, and I tell you, she didn't back down. She stood their ground, and they're strong, like shoulder wise, very powerful, like bone structure. Those motherfuckers, you ever see the women give birth? They're like African, they're like Nigerian women a little bit. Like they're very strong phenotype, like strong skeletal structure, just beautiful. It's beautiful. No shade. I'm actually in admiration. I have a very strong bone structure, but not compared to them. Russian women, to me, out of the African diaspora, I think Nigerians have same strong, Nigeria, and there's another, what's the other place? Nigeria, there's another place, like with the Kush work. I remember the guys are really strong like that too. The Russian and those guys, boy, I gotta wear armor. If I gotta go knuckle with that she, I gotta wear armor. I gotta protect my face because you know his face wasn't looking pretty like mine. So I had to like, they want to like girls who see I'm not pretty. I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying? I'm a girl. So could you, yo, my cheekbones are showing since I'm fasting. They're coming back. Finally. Where's that inflammation? I have really high cheekbones, y'all. You can't see it until I fast, but I think it's coming back since I'm in fasting. Anyway, that's a little sidebar. Is Ghana? Ghana. Oh, Ghana. The Zulu. Women, start mating with strong men. You may have to sleep with the Russians and you have to sleep with the Ghanaians and the Nigerians. I gotta give these strong babies because these daros are out of control. I don't know what we're gonna do. Anyway, so we finished talking about them. I'm tired of talking about Germans are really strong too. Germans are really tall, strong frame as well. Eastern Europe is like the gene pool. They would say it's like the hood because there's warnings when you go to Eastern Europe, but they're very strong body type, like healthier. I think they just have healthier, stronger bodies. It's my opinion. You could verify. And like I said, in Africa, I liken it to like the Maasai, like the Zulu, that's strong. Remember Shaka Zulu? I didn't make my children watch that yet. Do you guys have, can we get Shaka Zulu, y'all? Do you guys remember watching Shaka Zulu? Oh my God. I love watching, not freaking Roots. Roots ruins all brown people in America. They just had us watching it like socially engineering us to think, Toby, Shaka, Toby, um, anyway. If you watch, like Roots every year, you were under the mind control programming. Even though my parents aren't American, they still had, no, I don't think my mom and dad made me watch it. I just think it was on television around Easter time. What was the time that it was on? It was around Easter time, right? They put us under nice mind control. I don't think my parents ever made me watch it, but I did watch it with my mom a couple times, right? Roots. It's always, is it Shaka Zulu on YouTube, Yafi? Oh, we gotta watch Shaka. Shaka reminds me of my ape man. It's like my ultimate ape man. I told you I'm in love with the Wakanda ape guy. I want to live in his castle, the ice ape. You know what I'm saying? That's beautiful. That's my next. Anyway, it's too much information. Anyway, so I'm gonna watch Shaka Zulu. Oh, we can't watch. Oh, Zombies, we're gonna be on tonight. Maybe we could watch Shaka Zulu this weekend. That'd be good. Oh, I can't. No, I can't. Maybe I can. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm talking out loud. What was I talking about? Okay, hold on. I went on the daros spin. Okay, the daros are the golem. That's what I was saying. They're like some sub-tier place, and I think they're working with the Greys. And all this Malachians that they worship, that's Greys, y'all. You know those are Greys, right? Remember in Fourth Kind when they showed the owl? Remember when they showed the owl? And the owl was showing up in the windows, and people said, I saw an owl before this thing engaged with them and did some sort of like experiments on bringing them on the ship and confiscating them. And there's a concept of having contact and also being a abductee. So abductees would perceive themselves to be taken without their knowledge and then also experimented on. So you don't hear it as much online anymore about people who are engaging with extraterrestrials in negative ways. I actually think it's not that it's not happening. I think they changed the programming so that the people don't remember it. They have better ways of mitigating the remembrance of the experience, the negative experience. That's what I think. Because the Greys, and there's a lot of different Greys, not all Greys, but I'm telling you, y'all, the Greys that are working here as the Molochs, whatever those are negative. That's what allows these beings that, the whole, the grove that they go to and worship the big owl, that's a Grey. Okay? That's what I'm saying. The lipless people, I think they're either Greys or they're monkeys or a combination of both. Not having lips is not normal. Where I come from in another timeline, that's not normal. Those are not humans that don't have lips. And all these lip fillers, they got all these stuff for lips. Why do they have all this stuff? Because they're trying to hide themselves as humans. They're either primates, and people are like, oh, FleurBrun, you go too far. Go look at an ape. An ape doesn't have lips. Apes have slits. They're thin. Like the Greys don't have lips. They probably just slit it open. I'm telling you, y'all. Be careful. The Greys. Okay, what are we supposed to talk about? I'm all off subject. What are we supposed to talk about? Okay, so we talked about the airplanes going down. I think it's a combination between the magnetosphere being really, really kinetic, because we're in full-on pole shift, and go lie down, fine. Thank you. And also with the government, Willy Wonka, your League of Doom working in sync to get rid of certain people, and utilize, the planes going down. And I really think that this whole thing that happened with Trump, I'm sorry, stuff in my teeth, with Trump supposedly firing the FAA guy, and then all of a sudden all these plane crashes, I don't think it's by chance. Okay. And also they're trying to encourage people not to move around. Okay. Because we talked about during reset, you have to be at your geolocation, your latitude, longitude that you came in for, if you're going to leave the firmament. I mean, leave this firmament inside of because there's only time you have a chance to wake up outside of the simulation is at reset. So the only opportunity, if you accrued enough lifetimes where you kind of raise your level, you've gotten the best avatar to be able to mitigate the energies cellularly and be able to wake up out of the simulation. Okay. So that being said, you got to be careful with all the distractions and fear. They don't want you traveling because some of you are getting calls to go to your geolocations for extraction. Like in Star Trek. Wait, what's that? Wait. Captain, where are you? We're trying to locate you. We can't triangulate your location because they have to departicleize them. So if he can't find them because he doesn't have enough of that energy to be located, just like in the Matrix, y'all. If you ever watch the Matrix, what did the Nebuchadnezzar do? The Nebuchadnezzar, once they gave Neo the pill that was to wake him up, and so he could go back into himself and wake up outside of the simulation, they had to wait for him in the sewers, which I liken to be under Antarctica. I actually think they're looking for us under Antarctica. I told you, I personally think that I'm sleeping in a cryo state, in like what we perceive as like almost like a submarine with a few of my other shipmates. We're sleeping in these cryo states and we're underneath Antarctica. And that's why they're trying to dig to try to find out where our ships are, so they can try to get rid of those real beings in this simulation. Like the Sentinels were trying to go inside and try to find Zion, remember? And they basically found a way to hijack, what's his name? They hijacked that bastard and they got in to try to find, and once they found Zion, they sent the Sentinels. Okay, but let me go back to what I was saying. So they gave Neo the pill. Neo means one, right? Gave Neo the pill. He woke up in his cryo state, with all the, what is it? The gel around him. What is it called? Whatever, like in Ghostbusters, the ectoplasm. Remember in Ghostbusters? I love Ghostbusters. That's another movie you watch. Some young people may think it's corny. It's really good. It talks about the ectoplasm taking on the, plasma. Okay. So he woke up in a plasma, right? The Nebuchadnezzar went under and had to triangulate him like, Captain, we found him. And when they shot him down the toilet, they flushed him down the toilet, right? They flushed him down the toilet because he was non-viable, right? They got rid of him, threw him down into the sewers because he's non-viable. That's when they picked him up and brought him alive outside the simulation. Now, you notice how they make it seem like outside the simulation? This is the cap, y'all. Let me explain what I think is cap. The cap is that they'll make it seem like when Neo woke up outside the simulation was messed up, it was jacked up, he was flushed down the toilet, he was garbage, like he woke up in a world where he eating slop, it was nothing. That's cap. When you wake up out of the simulation, you're gonna be like, holy mother freaker. It's gonna be beautiful. It's a more technologically advanced world. The things that we take issues with in here in the simulations aren't existing there. Well, far removed from any issues here. Okay, so they'll make it seem like it's the hood when you wake up out of the simulation because they want you to think that, so you don't want to wake up. You'd be like, wait, you know what? I'll just stay in this. Remember the guy was like, make me a celebrity, make me wake up as a celebrity. That's how you know the celebrities are all part of the programming. You think that they're real. In order to hold a high position in this realm, you would have to be part of the simulation as a character that is in here that plays its part during every single simulation reoccurrence, or you are someone who upholds the agenda of the dark Kabbalists inside the simulation. So by default, anyone who's holding a certain heightened position of stardom or position of, now don't get me wrong, there may be one or two that fall through, like that make it through. But the majority for most, like look at all their behavior. Why is Sean Combs having sex parties, having anal sex, drugging people with pink cocaine lotion? Does he really have to do that when he's, well, you know, also, let me, not to give him props because he's a diabolical pervert, like most of them are, but, you know, a man of his stature and wealth, he didn't have to force anyone to do it. A lot of these people at this party signed those NDAs gratefully and thankfully and without question. You know, that's what I'm saying. For them to arrest him and take him out of line of sight, that had nothing to do with what he was doing, because he was doing that for many years, and many people co-signed to it, participated, and knew about it. The reason why they took him out of the lexicon of conscious awareness out in public eye is because he said he was going to create a political party called the Black Party. And because he was going to create a Black Party where brown people have a party for themselves so that they could actually advocate for their communities, okay? They were like, no, Negro. No, Negro. No, just like the Black Wall Street. No, Negroes, you're actually doing well on your own. And we can't let people know that there's 60% of you in the United States and not 13%. Because you know that all foreigners that come to the country, including some of our families and so on, if you are coming here as a Middle Easterner, an Indian, a West Indian, a Cuban, anything, you are put on the list as white. Why did they do that? Because they want to beef up the numbers of what you perceive to be lunars in this country. And I found out the real numbers, a lunars ratio, brown Americans, because just the brown Americans, not the Latinos, 60% of the American population is brown American, Joe. Their birth rate was so high that they had to create Planned Parenthood to make sure these motherfuckers didn't breed anymore. Okay? And unfortunately for them, Planned Parenthood wasn't the number one place people were getting abortions. Their children were getting abortions at the heightened rate, and now that's the problem. So the brown people in, you know, you could listen, y'all, I got the numbers. I'm not lying to you. They beefed up the numbers because they told you it was 13% of the population. We were wondering why brown culture in the United States was so influential. If it's such a small population, how could they be so influential? It's because they outnumber everybody. You could call me, you could say I'm lying. They're about 60%. They might even be more. There's 60%. Brown Americans take up 60% of America, and that's why they target them, kill them, shoot them down, create Planned Parenthood, because the numbers are too high. It was probably a little less before, but now, you know, look it up. Remember, lunars are 7% of the population worldwide. 7%. If there are 7% and a majority of lunars are living in Europe, how many do you think live in the United States? Just use logic and reason. I'm not a genius. How many do you think live in the United States? If most of the Europeans that are what you perceivably are white, and there's only 7% in the world, how many do you think is concentrated in the United States? And it's not more than Europe. Okay. So they've lied and made brown people feel as if they're a minority, and how can you be a minority when you're the majority on the planet? Stop using those terminology and stop saying you're from the hood. The Jewish people of the Ashkenazi Jews are from the hood, from the ghettos. stop saying it, because what you're doing is you're allowing people to project themselves on you. Okay? You aren't a minority. You are a majority, and stop saying it, because that is purposefully meant to geoengineer and socially engineer you to accept the terminology that creates a deficit in your mind of who and what you are and how your numbers. You are the majority. If a whole bunch of brown people came together and got it together, that's why they don't want the brown people going over to Africa. Because you see what they're doing when they go over to Africa, they're killing them. Because they got to. Because if they didn't, they joined together, then everybody who's done anything crazy is going to pay. Okay? So just, I'm just saying, I could be crazy. You could verify these things. 60% of the population, and I'm not using Hispanics. We're not even talking about the mixed. Maybe they're in there in those numbers. 60% of the United States is brown Americans, and they're indigenous Americans because they were already here. That's why they have a higher number, just like in Brazil. Don't fall for the okie doke. Okay? It don't matter. Remember Michael Jackson said, "It don't matter if you black or white. It don't matter if you're black or white." Oh, 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 oh. I'm like my mom. You know when you turn into your mother and you're like, when did that happen? I turn into my mom. Even like the things I do, like I get really happy sometimes and I do like crazy dances. It's like my mom. Like she would just have like outbreaks of like big up to my mom. I love my mom. She's bigger than that woman. Woo! Okay, so let's get off of that because I've already gaslit half of you. It doesn't matter. I'm just saying, stop calling yourself. I'm talking to brown people. Stop calling yourself minorities. I'm just tired of it, and I'm in this other realm with the lipless people. So you calling yourself a minority is crazy, and then you saying you from the hood and the ghetto. That's where the Ashkenazis live. Why are you saying it? That's why they still live there. Go to Brooklyn. They still living in the ghettos. I don't think this video is gonna stay up. It don't matter. Black or white. Right, Babette? Tell him, Babette. It don't matter if you black or white. Tell him, Babette. Tell him. Your breath smells interesting. No, you're not. Look at my face. You know the parasite. You know there's parasites all over. Did I clean you from parasites today? Yeah. Say hi to everybody. Want to say hi? Say hi. Say hi to them. Okay. Okay. 5 1 love 2. Okay. It don't matter if you're black or white. Okay. Hold on. All right. So let's get into the mothership. Let's talk about the orbs that are still in the sky. Um, you know what I realized? It's like we have orbs that are all over the place and they're still not talking about them. Everything else has taken over the news, but there's orbs being spotted all over the place. You know that, right? The orbs didn't disappear, y'all. They didn't. Just the conversation about the orbs was sidebarred with all the other news that basically took up the algorithm. You don't think that's odd? There are still orbs in the sky. There are still drones that are following the orbs that are coming out of the water. Okay. I actually know that those drones are actually scouts. Okay. The Mother Hover ship is on its way. And there's scout ships that are being seen all over the place. Okay. So, like Santa Claus said, let me sing a song to the daros. Can I sing a song to the daros? I'm gonna sing it for him. You better watch out. You better not cry. You better not shout. I'm telling you why. The dark aliens are coming to town. They're making their list. They're checking it twice. They're gonna find out who's naughty or nice. Dark aliens are coming to town. They know where you are sleeping. They know when you're awake. They know if you are bad or good. So be good for goodness sake. Oh, you better watch out. You better not cry. You better not shout. I'm telling you why. The Ethiopians are coming to town. You like that song I sang for y'all? Is that song really good? Did you enjoy it? Okay, I thought I'd sing it for you. Okay, that's for the daros. It's dedicated to the daros and the golem. The daros slash golem. Khazars. Golem, Khazars, and daros. Those are dedicated to you. Okay, because you about to pay dearly. You better hope the Leviathan comes out when you kill them red heifers. Red heifers. All right. And I know who you were talking about when you thought about killing those red heifers. You think I don't know? I know. Yeah. Don't worry. There's going to be a consequence for what you did. Because all those babies that you killed and you thought you got away with it. Well, darling, what goes around comes around. And there's a reason why you go and hide every single reset. Okay. And I suggest you go run and hide now. You could leave your cronies out here. They're not smart enough to take over for the longest time because they're idiots and they're inbred and they're not going to make it. And we're smarter than them. And they're just basically, you know, they could be easily thwarted. But I would go hide if I was you. You're probably already hiding. You're probably watching my video from your hidden locations because you're punks, right? Because remember, that's why sometimes you don't kill people because you know that killing them will make them more amplified in the other realms. You think we don't know that? That's why you have prisons in the etheric realms for certain strong beings, and others you don't want to kill them because you know that keeping them in physical will keep them locked into this realm and less at you. Anyway. All right, so we got the drones that are out. The mothership is coming. What else did I want to discuss? Oh, the apes that are walking around. Okay, let's talk about that. You want to talk about the Sasquatch? Let me ask your opinion because there's a little bit of a delay. Okay. Let me ask if you want to talk about the ape beings. Right? The ape beings are the ones that are being seen on. Now, you know what's crazy? Last year, if some of you remember in 2024, at the beginning of the year, they had all these ape shows, right? Remember? They had all these ape shows like Planet of the Ape again. They had the Ape Man. They had Godzilla versus King Kong again. It was something like that again. Remember they had those ape shows? And then I told you I had contact with these gorillas. Like I never had contact with gorillas before. Remember I told you? It was at the like March or April. I had contact with the gorillas. I was like, why am I having contact with gorillas? I didn't even know I had contact. And it wasn't like it was the gorilla. It was interesting because the image that they showed on the screen was the image that the gorilla showed me because his tooth fell out. And he had something replacing his tooth. And he had a fist that was like metal. Like he was part cyborg too, or like had a cyborg part. And I remember the time you could go back to the videos, y'all, because you could go back to the videos where I talked about my contact with aping, and it was a Spanish girl who had a hat. Like, you know what's crazy? You know what's really crazy is that the hat that Melania wore for her husband's inauguration is the hat that the Spanish, she was Mexican, and she came from like the ground and she misted up into the hat into full physical form. She was rolling with the ape man that I was rolling with. Remember I told you she was like a mist, and she was definitely Mexican because I remember I lived somewhere close to the Mexican border, beautiful people. Actually, out of all the Latin people, and I know y'all get mad at me for this, but I gotta sanctify this. Out of all the Latin so-called communities, the Mexicans got the most consciousness, y'all. I don't care what you say. I don't care that Trump has designated the cartel. The reason why the cartel has that much control is because they're smarter than everybody else. These are the people that with the native indigenous called the Apache, the Comanche. Remember the Comanche and the Apache? They were the baddest mother freakers in the West, Midwest, not Midwest, Southwest. And remember, they were fighting with the Europeans coming over here, colonizing. Those are the bloodline of the Comanche and the Apache, y'all. Okay, so the Mexico, big up to Mexico. I don't care how they vilify you. They do it like the Haitians. That's how I know how much props you have consciously. Because remember, whenever they vilify people, it lets me know how high you are in the tier of the simulation. It lets me know where you sit in the hierarchy of the simulation. So big up to my Mexicanos, beautiful culture, beautiful people. I don't care what you say, there's a lot of them. There may be a lot more unconscious, but the ones who are conscious up in the Latin community is definitely the Mexicanos, especially the women. Okay. So all that to say is this woman messed it up. She had a hat like, and you know, it's crazy because Melania's hat, I was like, I know that hat. And we looked at it because remember, what's her name wore that hat too? Um, Beyonce. Remember she wore the hat in Lemonade in the video? She's like, no, 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 no. Remember she was dipping the hat. It's kind of like a Brujana's hat, right? So she had a hat like this. So that hat symbolizes something in that realm because when this woman who was a Mexicana, she missed it and she came in full body and she fit in the hat. And we were walking with the ape man. We were going to do business. I don't know what was going on. Oh no, somebody was coming in the house at us and we were going out of a door. That was interesting. I never had that combination before. So then I knew something was going on with apes that were here. Then I had another occurrence when I'm walking down my old street in Mount Vernon, big up to Mount Vernon, New York. I got to give a shout out to Mount Vernon. I love it, my old neck of the woods, even though Sean Combs has ruined it for personality, but you know, it's still a beautiful place I grew up. I was walking down my old road in Mount Vernon and two apes came aside me, gorillas, not even apes, gorillas, you know? That's why I got to give a shout out. Shout out to Rod Hayes, the ape man. I'm saying, you know what I'm saying? He's an ape man too. And that could be where I have this affinity for the ape man who was represented in Wakanda in Black Panther. Like as soon as I saw him, I wanted to be his wife. I wanted to like live in the ape world, be on top of that mountain, an ape hand, like live in the ice world with the apes and him. I still have that fantasy. Maybe he exists outside of here. Anyway, so I had contact with the monkey. And we're in a monkey country too. Thank you, Oracle. Yeah, and it's a US. Because remember, the monkeys are carnal, y'all. I always talk about the different signs, and I got to bring up the fact that the different. Let me bring that up before I go further. So when we talk about the Chinese astrology, it's what I've been holding and gripping on because it has a lot of relations with what is going on with us personally right now with each one of us. So many of you know I'm a rat. The rat is one of the favorites in the matrix because we're the most transformable. We do a lot, you know, we're told to be the best parents in here. We're one of the numbers, but if you look at the rat countries, you're going to know what the rat represents because the rat countries are North Korea, Ukraine, Israel, um, Panama, Ecuador. There's a couple more. I think I forgot the other ones. What's the other ones? I forgot the other one. Anyway, look at those countries and see the personality of them. You're gonna see like if you're a rat, you represent that. Then you have monkeys are very carnal. Sex, drugs, and alcohol. Like, like they're very carnal. They're very connected to the earth. Almost they're very Taurus. It's to me, it's very Taurus energy, very earthy energy, but they're very carnal. Like, you know what I mean? Like they represent the I could see why you know, United Fakes likes to traffic, has a lot of sex, a lot of drugs. Like we got big issues in the United States because we're a monkey country. Okay. But the monkey countries are literally friends to the rats and the dragons and the oxes. So that's why you see someone's like, you know, if Israel and the United States are always going to have a relationship, yes, they will. People get pissed at that. But remember, United States is a monkey and their best friend is Israel, which is a rat, because I'm a rat. So they do well together. They always gonna have each other's back, whether you like it or not. And you know what's interesting? Monkeys and rats have a very unique relationship, like the ox and the rat. And the monkey will always is fascinated and very protective and always enamored by the rat because the rat is very resilient. Okay, look at these dynamics. And you've got, you know, countries that represent like what's another country? Like the goat countries. You ever see goats? Like Russia's a goat. Okay, the goat, right? Very strong, sturdy, a little stubborn. They got a little bit that Taurian energy to earth energy. Goat countries are countries like Colombia. You know, Colombia is very strong, sturdy, and you know, goats in so you don't hear that. you hear my dogs? Howling. Working. Okay, you guys done? Okay. I don't know if you can hear them, they're loud. Okay, so you have, I'm gonna give it like a little breakdown of my concept of each of the animals, because I know a lot more now, and I know a lot, and I've kind of gotten my own little consensus of each of the animals. So monkey's really carnal. So like if you want to go, that's why if you go to somewhere like Miami, Miami's a monkey town. What does Miami like to do? They like to party, look sexy, do a lot of drugs. They like to drink. That's carnal. They're very physical. Like they like to do very physical things. Okay. When you go to places that are, like the rooster is very haughty. They puff up, they like to look good, they like to dress nice, they like to look the part. They're like how a rooster walks around, cock-a-doodle-doo, like that. They're very haughty. Rooster places, you would want to be someone who shows up a certain way, wants to be perceived a certain way. Who else? The dogs. Dogs, to me, out of all of the Chinese signs, are really loyal. They're very loyal and they're very good looking. All the dogs that I know tend to be very good looking. People tend to like them and feel in sync with them. Dogs resonate. Like dogs are actually, they're very charismatic. The dogs, to me, like my dogs, are very charismatic. Okay. Dragons are they are more wisdom bearing. They're very strong in personality and like very stoic. They hold their they're very wisdom bearing. They hold what they know and hold that as a perimeter to how others should be perceived. The dragons are the wisest, and as they get older and more wisdom bearing, they tend to be very specific on who and what they're around. Very choicey. Okay. Who else? We've got the goat, the cat, the pigs are really smart. Really, really smart. All you techie people, all you smart people, musicians that are into technical musicians, like or classical musicians, or big into mathematics, very scientific, very IT friendly. A lot of your pigs are like that. Pigs are really, really smart, very research oriented. They tend to know a lot about everything, like very knowledgeable about like just matter of fact things that you think don't even matter to anyone else. The pigs know. Okay. Who else? Okay. When I say the goat, when I bring up the goat, remember the goat and the sheep are one and the same in this in astrology. Like even when I bring up the rabbit or the cat, like Canada is a cat country. Cat countries are very practical, very, very comfortable, very safe, very stealth. They don't really rock the ship with anything. They're not trying to cause any problems. They tend to be very cohesive with everyone else. Cat countries are very comfortable, and you're not going to see a lot of crime in cat countries. Like Canada is one of them. What's another cat country? They'll say rabbit. So when I say cat in Vietnamese, it's cat. In Chinese, it's rabbit, but it's one and the same. They're considered to be the same animals. They're very common collective. Now, the ox to me are very loyal, very strong, and in righteousness. They will stand up against all of the others if they feel like they are standing up for something that they believe in. Oxes are one of the most integrity written of all the signs. So you aren't going to see many oxes that'll do things that are criminal or against other people, not overtly, because they really have a high standard of ethics and morality. Very strong stance on that. They're good and loyal to whoever they love and whoever they care for. They're strictly loyal to them, but they won't be loyal to default, because if they feel like that person is not living up to whatever they're supposed to, or they're doing something against them, there was something that they perceive as moralistic and ethical, they will tell them about it and give them a chance, and then they'll leave them alone. Okay, that's oxes. What's another one? Snake. Snakes are very stealth, very resilient. Snakes tend to choose one thing that they focus on, and everything kind of falls to the windward. So like if they focus on one person or one thing, they'll concentrate on that, even if it doesn't match with everything around that. Snakes, but they're very resilient. Like they shed their skin. They're okay to shed their skin when there's a new idea that's coming. And when they do so, they'll take on that, but they're very monofocused. That's what I noticed. What else? Who are the other signs? Let's see, there's countries that are oxes, like Costa Rica's an ox, Bahamas an ox, I think. So those are countries you could see like the likeness of it. A dog country. What's a dog country? Remember horses? Okay, I forgot horses. Horses are very stoic, very hardworking, have good ethics when it comes to what they do in life. Very they'll like the Virgos of the Chinese astrology. They're very finite in the way that they focus on things. They're very good at whatever they do. If they focus on something and do something, they do it well. They have a lot of integrity. They're not someone to rock the boat. They're not going to cause like, like like the rat, myself, and a monkey. We just kick up smoke just to see so we can see what's going on. They don't do that. They're very very structured. The countries that are the horse are like Chile, which Chile to me, Chile is very much like a horse, a very artisan country. France is a horse, a very artisan kind of country. There's a couple other countries like that. I really think that horses to me, even if, because horses would be my enemy, even if it's my enemy, they just have a lot of, uh, like they're not prideful, but they're very, they have, they have a good decorum. So they don't, even if they got beef with you, they're not going to fall off their square to make themselves look bad, to illuminate your, to do something to you. They'll always hold a certain decorum. That's what I like about the horses. Who else? Oh, tigers, lions and tigers and bears. Tigers are brucko. Tigers will fight you. They're very strong, even physically. When you look at a tiger, they look like a tiger. Like they're very physically strong people. They're very concentrated in their thought pattern, very strong opinioned. They're very unrelenting, probably the most resilient of all the Chinese astrology. I think in themselves, they just tend to be the ones that if you go into a battle, you want to roll with a tiger, because the tigers can hold their stance and they're just unwavering. They will find ways, and they're strong enough to withhold any sort of feedback or pushback. You know what I mean? They're good for long term, very strong beings. And I think that's it. So what was I talking about? I was talking about something about the gosh, I kind of lost thought because I was talking about something else and I kind of went into the animals. So right now I was saying I hold a really strong stance with the different Chinese astrology, because it makes a lot of sense how we should be looking at beings and people and countries in terms of their energetic stamp. That's what I think I was mentioning. And their energetic stamp means something, because how someone is stamped energetically, whether it's numerology, were they born on, a certain date? Where do they hold a certain numerical energy? Do they hold a certain animal energy? Do they hold a certain Western astrology energy? You can make decisions with what you engage with, how you engage with, what days you do, knowing the energy that is present with people, places, and things. I think it's very important. Even we got the list of each of the different companies and even items that you drink, that they were sourced on certain days, so they hold the energy of that specific animal. So I think, where's Oracle? What's Avian? I forgot what Avian is. Avian's what animal? Like certain waters have a certain energy. So these are all fun facts to know. It shouldn't totally make you bend to certain things. It just gives you an ear of idea of what energies you're dealing with, so that you proceed as necessary. So you aren't walking recklessly in a war. If I'm a rat and I'm walking into a boardroom with a whole bunch of horses, I should hold my horses and maybe back down, or back out of being in a room surrounded by my perceived energy. That the enemy, that's an energy that it holds. Okay. And again, sometimes if you have an enemy animal, like if you have an enemy animal, you have to know that it's not always the person who will be your enemy, even though it's an enemy animal. It could be who's associated with the person who's your enemy. So sometimes you'll have an enemy who's the opposite sign as you, and that's the person you should be mindful of. Like with the pig of this year, all the piggies, your enemy year is a snake. It's the snake year. So you got to be careful with snakes. So when you're around people with snake energy, you want to kind of keep a healthy distance. You don't want to necessarily participate in business with them or even becoming a lover with them. Because a lot of times if you create a lover with your enemies, you're going to have a host of other issues and non-balanced children. Oh, avian is a rooster. It's a rooster. It isn't my enemy, but you know, it's not my friend. It's my friend for now. It's my friend for now. So I just thought I'd share that with you because right now energies matter. So, oh, Baba, it's looking like a fussy mess. So I just want everyone to pay attention to those things energetically and know that you have a president that you voted in that's a dog. And if you think that this is important, I always say to people, it's interesting to me that you'll say these things don't matter, but your government is utilizing it. Why are they using it? So your government is being ran using numerology, astrology, gematria, and also using rituals. So do you know that President Trump is a dog? Do you know Melania is a dog? Do you know that President's favorite son, Barron, is a dog? You think that's by chance? You think that's by chance that all three are dogs? Do you know that your Vice President Vance is a rat? Okay? And rats are very resilient. Okay, and he's probably going to be heading all of his information, all of his interface with Israel because rats like rats. So these things matter. So how could you have a president and his wife and his child are all dogs? And he just was attacked all through the year of the dragon, which is his enemy sign. So all through the dragon year, which is 2024, Trump was attacked. He was, you know, brought up on charges. He was shot at, beat up, whatever. He was all attacked, but it was in his enemy year. So that's why I say the piggies, you got to be careful going into your enemy year of the snake, the serpent. You need mitigators, try to keep focused on certain things, but be careful because you're stepping in a nest of snakes and it is your enemy sign. And how do you know this? Look at Billy Carlson, Coach Carlson himself. Right before the snake here comes in, he's a pig. Guess what happens, y'all? He starts getting vilified online by the Christian. Weird kind of Christians coming after. I've never seen nothing like it. I think they're all NPCs personally. They basically were programmed to come after him, but he's a pig. So they started to come after him right before the snake year comes in. Guess who else is a pig, y'all? Bioborg, Elon Musk. And guess what's happening with Elon right now? He's being questioned. He's being vilified. People are saying, we don't need you, Doge, dodge the Doge. You know what I'm saying? They're coming for him. They're coming for him illegally. He's in his enemy year. His Tesla blew up at the beginning of the year, blew up in front of the Trump Tower. You don't think that's by chance? He's a pig. Okay? So I'm just saying, just because you don't use it doesn't mean they don't use it. And the fact that you have people doing spells and all kinds of incantations on their behalf, usually against the people that they're ruling over, you should be mindful of that. And you should know the energies that you're dealing with, okay? And pay attention to those things, you know what I mean? So, you know, now we're in a snake year, you're going to probably see Tesla go down the tubes. It's probably going to be attacked. All the pigs should just be careful this year, okay? Next year is the year of the horse. Rats got to be careful. Israel as a country is going to probably have some issues when going into a rat year. Because when we look what happens in California, which is a dog state, look what happened to California right before snake year was coming in, right at the tail end of dragon year, and it's a dog state. It was burning up the house. Look at California burning up a dog state at the end of a dragon year. That's an enemy. Even when we talked about zombies, and some of y'all, I got you on my spaceship last time. Remember we talked about the fact that the eagles, you know, I don't do games, but you know, I had to look at the symbolism. The eagles and the Cardinals, what was it? The Hawks, what was it? Hawks? The Hawks were playing, and I didn't know anything, so I looked it up, and I was like, oh my God, the Eagles are a snake. It's their year, and the Hawks were a pig. So I was telling everybody, zombies, big up to the zombies that came up that day when we came on here. I was like, if I was a betting woman, I would say that the Hawks are going to lose because they're a pig and it's their enemy year. And the Eagles, and then people were like, no, because they're the favorites. They always win. Well, guess what happened? Proof was in the pudding. Oh, Chiefs. I'm sorry. Chiefs. I apologize. Chiefs. The Chiefs lost and the Eagles won, right? Wasn't that interesting? So it just all in that astrology thing. You don't have to use it. And also blood types matter. You sitting over here thinking you're gonna get over and go against a blood type that may be adverse to you. If you are O positive and you messing and trying to battle O negative, that's a battle that's gonna last generations and bloodline generations. Okay? Because the two are the equal opposites. Okay? You may not want to do work with an O if you want to be the lead in something, because O's are very leadership worthy. That's why you only see O's in political positions a lot of times, majority. O's in itself, whether it's negative or positive, are both leaders. They're very strong personalities. I'm an O positive. You can see it within my personality. Everybody in my family is an O positive. Okay, very strong leadership. They don't back down. When they feel right about something, they stand in it, and they're very good leaders. They're good to lead. Okay, but when you want to do something that requires something meticulous, you definitely want to be. Bees have a wider range of information accessibility, and they can house it because their brain compartmentalizes information like a Virgo and can put it in different departments so that they can access it when necessary. That's why the government, dark ops, like to hire people that are bees, because they can put them in certain black ops escapades, and they know that they could probably put one part of information in a brain and lock it so no one else could get, not even themselves can get access to it. So bees are also hypersensitive to sugar, which many of you know as indigenous of the Americas, especially in the northern hemisphere of the Americas, you have, and also in Asia. So the northern hemisphere of the world is mostly bees. Like in Asia and the Americas, northern part of America, you have a lot of bees. Bees are very hypersensitive to sugar. So these are people that have an allergy to sugar. That's why distilled sugar, which is alcohol, is a problem for them. Alcoholism is big for them. They need to avoid sugar, especially cane sugar. Okay, they have a sensitivity to it. O's tend to bulk up. So O's are very physical and need to stay away from any grains or anything, and they need to move around a lot because their endocrine system requires it. But when they sit sedentary and they're eating a lot of things with glyphosate, you'll see bulk up. We bulk up. A lot of your O's, especially O positives, tend to bulk weight. Okay, because they have a glyphosate sensitivity. They're very sensitive to grains, and they're very movement oriented. And they generally live places where they don't eat a lot of food. Generally, O positives especially are very, very minimal of what they eat. Okay. A is the sweetest people on the planet. I know you don't hate me. I'm just the messenger. I don't care if you piss off an A. I don't care if you spit on an A. I don't care if you try to beat up an A. A's will still be sweet. They are the love of all of nature. Nature loves A's like the birds, the cats, the dogs. I know an A because I will sit outside and see everything come to an A. Birds will fly to an A and sit next to them. They are the oldest. And I know people tell me this, that I'm just logical in this way. When you tell me that someone has that connection to nature, does it mean they're newer, or does it mean it's old, they're older? Because nature remembers A's to the point where it trusts an A more than it trusts all the other blood types. When they say old, I told you it's the same thing. They flip mode everything. Oh, Africa's the oldest. Meanwhile, it's Asia. Oh, O's are the oldest. Meanwhile, it's A. A is the beginning, y'all. You know the alphabet, right? A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So they're going to tell you that O's are brand new to this firmament. They're O's. They are 0 point. That means zero. They're not connected to here. A's and B's are. Okay? So A's are lovable. I don't care if they're negative or positive. All animals love A's. It's just beautiful. ABs are the harmonizers. If I have a board meeting, if I need something to be neutralized, if I need somebody who's more like, who will keep people balanced and not fighting, or if I need somebody to be a surrogate or like someone neutral, ABs. ABs are not going to cause ruffles. They are just natural balancers, the natural equilibriums of this realm. I love ABs because they're balanced. Even when they're pissed off, they will find a way to mitigate between those realms of left and right hemisphere. You want an AB when you're doing anything that requires mediation. And you can look at this in your life because it always will sit well and you will see it. Okay? So when we talk in realms of blood types, animals, Chinese astrology, and feng shui. We go into what is related to numerology and astrology, Western and Uveritic. It all, sidereal, it all interrelates. It is best to utilize all of these things because it will help you and assist you in making better decisions and also seeing things fully exposed. If I know that I'm walking somewhere and I'm about to encounter an ox, I already know that I have 10 steps ahead and that we're going to kick it together probably forever. Oxes are the loves of rats. So that dynamics will always be cohesive. Even if they have beef, it will always be resolved a lot faster. So if I was a rat in my right mind back in the days, I would have looked and sought out an ox that was O positive, that was also from a blood type and region that was more cohesive to my genealogy to balance and create children with. Do you see how this all works? If I was an A and I was looking for a proper mate, I may not want an A if I'm too sweet and kind, and generally I don't protect myself much because A's are really sweet. I might want to mate with an O because I know O can rock with me better and can bring in more strength in the way that my children will show up. But be careful because as an A, when you get pregnant, when an O gets pregnant with an A, for some reason, A's make them a little nauseous when they're pregnant. I don't know why. I actually know that those two make, if out of the blood types that should mix and can, is A's and O's. But for some reason, I just found this out maybe, what, 6 months ago, that everyone who's gotten pregnant as an O with an A, they get really sick pregnant. I don't know why. So someone, if I don't know, GYN, can someone kind of, I would love to get your opinion on that. It's enough people. Remember, I get exposed to a lot of people in, my scientific mad scientist mind. And for some reason, O's get nauseous when they get pregnant with A's. Even though I think that's if you want to kind of fix things, like if you're a chunkier O, if you're chunky, A's tend to be better shaped. Like not, O's have beautiful shapes. Like you want the Coca-Cola bottle shape, you want to get with an O because O has very, very beautiful lines. They're geometrically sound until they get exposed to poisons or glyphosate, or they're stagnated and they're not moving around. Then they're just round. Big up to all the O's in the house and roundies. You know what I'm saying? They get round. So in order to fix that, a good way to fix it, it would be with an A. I would say B's, because B's generally tend to be least overweight. B's have a better way of and remember, I'm generalizing, y'all. I'm talking about just generally. B's generally tend to be a little more slender, especially when they're younger. So you might want to fix that if you have a more chunky or you absorb more weight in order to have children that'll tend to be a little more slender or less bulky. A B would do that for, I don't like mixing and matching, but I'm saying if you're gonna be a mad scientist, you sleeping with people you don't even know are human right away, you might as well get the blood type and work it out. You know what I'm saying? You might as well work it out at this point. I mean, at least you can mitigate certain things that could be issues in your family. If you have somebody, who has a lot of alcoholism in their family as a B, you definitely want to get with an O. And O will get rid of that addiction. O's don't have addiction like that. O's are, if they're addicted, it's because they want to be addicted. O's don't have addiction they don't have addiction to food and elements the same as a B. Okay. So if you want to kind of patch that work in your house, if you got a lot of alcoholics and a lot of drug addicts, you may want to get with an O. And kind of give your child a chance to, get over those things that were issues in your gene pool. Okay. If you got a lot of eye issues, right? A lot of eye issues. I think, and I got to look this up. O's don't have the best eyes. O's see well in the dark. I think O negatives are the same, but I know O positives, we see really well in the dark. But A's have better eyes. B's don't. B's usually, a lot of them wear a lot of glasses. A's, I think, have the best eyes. I think because they're older and maybe they've been here longer. You guys can confirm this. I think A's have the better eyes. So you may want to get with an A. So these are like fun facts. I'm not a doctor. I'm a crazy person. Don't listen to me. I'm a liar. I don't know anything I'm talking about. Don't listen to me. I'll put that out there, okay? I'm a clown. This is a lie. I'm not a doctor. Okay. But these are things that you could do to mitigate what's going on right now. So what's my prediction in the next couple of months is that your government is going to create the biggest psyop you've ever seen. Bird flu, everything flu, the fungus is already coming all over. The fungus inflames the brain and they're pumping it in the nanites, which are in the fog. So that's going to give them an excuse to do another lockdown, especially when the mothership. It's either when the mothership comes, they're going to do a lockdown so you don't see what's outside, and it's going to be a heavy lockdown, not like the dress rehearsal we had in 2020. No, this is going to make 2020 look like patty cake. When they do a heavy lockdown, it's going to be a heavy lockdown. Like you can't even step out your house. They're going to have drones enforcing your isolation. Okay, because when that ship comes in sky, they don't want anybody seeing it. They don't want anybody witnessing it, and they certainly want to keep you fair base. So I actually think that what they may do during this during March or May, when this Mother Hubbard ship comes, is they're going to do a mass lockdown and utilize the nanites that they've been infecting everybody with, these nano fleas that are going in people's head and brains, causing inflammation. They're going to cause people to get sick, say it's the bird flu, say it's going rogue, and utilize that as a catalyst to lock people down and enforce martial law, and then have drones flying all around monitoring, making sure your behind stays in the house. This is my opinion. I could be wrong. Another option is they start World War III, but I don't think they're going to do that until right before the pole shift, because that's their ace card. So they can't do that too early or too late. That's got to be right on time. So I think they're going to do a full pandemic, real, no dress rehearsal, cherry, everything. And they're going to kick it off so that and you're going to see people die this time. It's not like before when they would just inflate the numbers and then tell you that was the case so that you would go and take the blah, blah. Okay, this time it's going to be, you see people straight up dropping it like it's hot, and you think something's wrong, but you got to remember what I told you. Please don't go back to sleep. The nanites that are in the fog are why people are getting sick. Look at the little fleas. You're breathing that in. When Delmache showed the video, let me see if I can find a video, y'all. Hold on. Let me see if I can find a video. I think that Delmache, can I show that video? Let me see if I have it still. Oh, I still have it. Okay. Let me see if I can play it. Can I play it still? Hold on. Hold on, I'm trying to. I don't think I can play the video. I'm sorry. I don't think that's it. Okay, I don't think I have the video anymore. Okay. I was going to show you the video. I don't think I have it. But anyway, in the video, Delmache taped it herself. So this is not someone else, a third party. This is one of our own. And she basically filmed it, and you can see all these flying nanos all over the place. And then people are taking pictures of their animals' bowls outside with these little fleas swimming in the bowls. You're breathing that in, it's going in. And where does it go? Straight up to your brain. And then if you get enough of them in, then it causes that fungi, because I think they're sporish too, the inflammation of the brain. Then they're going to say is bird poop, flu, whatever they're going to call it. And then they're going to say, oh my God, it's a pandemic. And you go see real people in real time perish away, and it's going to be stronger. It's not going to be like before where they would just geoengineer it and you wouldn't see anything. You're literally going to watch people that you know and love. And remember, this is also my opinion. You could think what you want. My opinion does not have to be yours. Also, what I know is that when they're doing this, this is my theory. we're in a simulation. We're about to go through reset. Some of us are going to be allotted to wake up out of the simulation. In order to take down the numbers of people while we're going towards waking up out of the simulation, you got to lessen the numbers. And all those NPCs, because we're going through reset, have to disappear. So there's going to be NPCs that we perceive as regular people, but they're going to disappear. So you got to have a reason why people would die off or go, why the room would empty while you're in the simulating room. You're in the simulating room, you're about to leave the room, it's about to turn off. All these people start disappearing. You got to have an excuse why these people start disappearing, because you're in a simulation. Okay, that's my opinion. So, I don't say a matter of fact, because I know that there's only 44 people in the simulation, and the majority of people are NPCs or programs in here. Or, part of the characters, or they could be inserts too, like biological uniform bodies being used and inserting like walk-ins. Could be that, or, ETs or whatever. But the majority of people here aren't real. So even though you're going to feel a certain way, all that matters is what's in your world. And in order to leave out of here, you got to leave how you came in, and you didn't come in with a lot of people. You came in with yourself. Okay. That's why Neo's name, what is it? When you switch it around, it's one. Because it's only one. One of you. I don't know. Anyway, y'all. All right. I don't know. Do you guys want to ask questions? You want me to share the live with you? You want to come in and ask questions or talk? Because I'm going to go in a minute. What time is it? It's late here. No, I'm not gonna, no, because I gotta get out of here. I normally would chat with you guys longer. I'm gonna be on Zoom tonight. If we get on, if I start letting you on here, then we're gonna be on forever. So, I'll see you guys on Zoom tonight. We'll talk about whatever. So interesting. It'll be interesting to see how this virus of mass destruction really unfolds. Because literally they're doing it as we speak. And I know someone who's a victim of it already. Hopefully he gets better. I'm wishing him all the well. I hope he pulls through. If something happens to him, I know that's the sign and signal for me to get ready for the next pandemic. And this one won't be a dress rehearsal. This will be the real deal. All right, y'all. And what's the enemy of the ox? The goat. The goat is the enemy of the ox. Okay. So be careful of the ox and the horse. Those are two that you have to be careful with. Okay. The ox and the horse. The ox is your number one enemy. I mean, the goat is your number one enemy, which is also sheep, goat and sheep. And the next enemy would be the horse for you. All right. So I'll see y'all tonight on Zoom. We already discussed the mitigators for the next pandemic, but I guess we'll discuss it. And for those who fasted, it works. If you want to fast, I mean, I always say it's best to fast. Like, I mean, it's not gonna hurt you to do some tea, some water with salt in it. I have salt in it. Can you see? Oh, the salt's already, do salt. You should only be drinking out of glass. I always tell you, men, if you want your wands to work, stop drinking out of plastic. Stop putting plastic on your balls. You know what I mean? That plastic for men is like just terrible. So men, stop drinking plastic bottles. It's hurting your balls and your testosterone. It's just, it's a bioweapon as far as I'm concerned. BPA. It's not even BPA. They give you one chemical and say, oh, it's BPA free, but what about the host of other plastic chemicals? Okay. This young lady tested herself and she has so much BPA in her system, all in her body. Because a lot of you are wearing weaves with plastic, synthetic hair is plastic. You're messing with your endocrine system and you wonder why fibroids is becoming a thing. If you're putting plastic in your body, it's messing with your hormones. And synthetic hair is hormones. And then you say, oh, well, I only use real hair. Yeah, you're using real hair of poor people that are deprived and mentally off in India and Indonesia that are poor. And then you wonder why you can't make any money because you're wearing poor people's hair. That's a frequency. Stop wearing stuff on your hair. Why can't you just wear your hair naturally? It's amazing that that's another psyop. They really did a thing. Back in the days, brown women's hair was the only unique hair, and everybody adored it and loved it. They used to wear flowers, carry shells in it. Brown women had their froze out, and everyone used to admire it. And then they told brown women to cover their hair because all the other women felt like they were getting too much attention. And now they've socially engineer brown women to totally think that their hair is lesser. It's crazy. Even though they have the most unique hair in the entire planet. Like nobody has that hair. That's a unique quality. And it also protects you from radiation and mind control programming. That's why they wearing the yarmulkes on top of there. You got thick hair. And your thickest hair, my thickest hair is around here, around my crown. And they got you hating your hair, but meanwhile, back in the days, that's all they sweat. Everybody wanted hair like that, but now they made it seem like that. So now you put plastic on your hair, you put weaves on your hair. You're so beautiful, you don't even know it. You so beautiful, and you have such uniqueness, and you let these NPCs and not even human and men who are into honeypots. Why would you even listen to men that are into honeypots? Like they're being whole psyoped by a whole colonizing honeypot scheme. Why are you going to listen to them about beauty standards? Because when a man doesn't date a woman that looks similar to his mother, he hates himself. I'm telling you, I don't care what anybody says. You can call me a hater. When a man actually gets with a woman that looks opposite of his mother, he hates himself. He's trying to remedy something he thinks is wrong with himself. Or his mother could have been abusive too. She could have been cold and abusive. So he's trying to get away from that kind of phenotype. But I'm just telling you, you keep listening to men, the same men who don't like their mothers telling you what's beauty standards, you gonna fall for the okie doke. Be you. Be beautiful, love yourself, love everything natural about yourself. You don't have to get lip implants. A lot of you got thick, beautiful bee sting lips. Look, bee sting lips. You don't have to get stuff in your lips. Why you hate yourself? Don't love yourself. It's beautiful. There's nothing wrong with anybody else, but brown women are the only people that they constantly keep in their mouths. And it's really because it's envy. Because if we really meant nothing to no one, they wouldn't obsess with brown women and talking about them all the time. Because for you to say you don't like brown women when brown women are the majority of the planet, and there's so many hues of brown women, light skin, dark skin, light eyes, dark hair, the straight hair, longer hair, long hair, short hair, froze, everything. You got every variation of brown women. So when a man says he doesn't like brown women, it's because he hates himself. Because there's too many variations for you to say that. That's like mental illness. Okay. So don't listen to those men who have honeypots. They're already being under mind control. They're diving deep and ruining their gene pools. Okay. They're going to come back incarnated in the most hated groups. Let them get with the honeypots. Don't listen to what they say. They're all under mind control. Okay. Stop listening to them. Okay. You have beautiful hair. Let your hair be. In Brazil, let me tell you, big up to Brazil. A bom tarde, no, boa noite. Boa noite. Tudo bem? Women in Brazil, especially in Bahia, my God, the bigger, the thicker, the better. I mean, they make me feel self-conscious. They don't like when I put my hair back. They hate it. They love the bigger, the better. They think it's amazing. Some of you need to go to Brazil, take a moment, see images on the walls of everywhere that they worship brown women in every way. You need some self imagery that's positive. United Fakes is remember, you have the ability, if you're real, to leave the simulation. So they got all kinds of psychological warfare against you. Go to Brazil. Go see images on the wall of everywhere you go, and beautiful brown women with froze everywhere, and everybody worships them. There might be a colorism thing, but God darn it, not with imagery. Okay. Go visit that. Stop putting stuff like that on your body. Okay. Plastics. Okay. Remember all your clothes, all your leggings, all those $50, $60 leggings that they make you pay at Nike's. That's all microplastics. When you get hot, you working out, guess what that goes into your skin? What's your largest organ? Your skin. Some of you are wearing these leggings and they got microplastics. You're paying $60 to poison. You paying $60 to poison yourself. I would show you my bra, but I can't because I'm on YouTube, and they always say I'm trying to show my tatas. I'm a Carib, and we always had our bosoms out. I would show it to you, but I don't want to get in trouble. I'm joking. I'm not gonna show you anything. But the brassiere I'm wearing is pure organic cotton. You can do other forms of organic bamboo, things like that. You shouldn't put anything on your that's unorganic. all these pretty Victoria's Secret bras with wires. So basically, you put wire, Wi-Fi towers, 5G is like stimulating all the energy, all your lymph nodes under the air, causing all kinds of problems. Get yourself some organic clothing, sea stars. We're going back to 0 point. You can't go with all this kind of weirdness and geoengineered viruses and unnatural fibers in your clothing. Okay. Start wearing things that are more natural and stop putting so much makeup on your face. You don't need it. Let me tell you, our young sea stars, you're so beautiful. Like, why are you? I'm a woman of a certain age, okay? Back in the days for us, we did eyeliner, and as you see, my lip gloss be popping now. That's what my lip gloss. I keep lip gloss on deck. Listen, lip gloss, and all it is castor oil and like an essential oil in this one. But why do you wear makeup? You're beautiful. I tell you, sister, I know you don't listen to me. You think I'm silly, and I don't know. You're beautiful. You young sea stars, I don't know why you wear makeup. Change your diet. If you feel like your skin is not right, just drink water. You want to know, like people are like, what's your secret? Water. I'm not, I'm probably 1,000 years old already. Yeah. I got other issues, you know what I mean? But you're beautiful. Stop hating on yourself. I see all these beautiful sisters. You don't have to wear makeup. You're beautiful. Wear your hair natural. Okay. Stop wearing plastics on your body. That's number one. Stop eating things that are toxic. If you want good skin, good health, drink a lot more healthy water in glass bottles. Stop, put more cotton on your body, organic cotton. Okay. So, and a couple of sisters say, oh, we can't afford it. You can afford a Prada bag, but you can't afford organic panties. Priorities, ladies, priorities. Okay. Don't wear panties if you can't wear them organic. Okay. You could do that too. But you need to put more organic things in your body. It's too much plastics and mycotoxins and everything. Watch what you cook with. Don't cook in where that's toxic. Just mind things like that. Even your dishwashing detergent has to be clean. The things you wash your clothes with have to be clean. Okay, your bed sheets shouldn't be mixed fibers. The things in your bedroom, you shouldn't have TVs in your bed. These are the things. Like people always ask, "What do you do?" I've been like that for over what? Oh my God, like over 20 years. Using microwaves, I hope you don't use them. It's radiation, and you get rid of all the nutrients in your food. Okay, closer to raw foods, clean it, baking soda, vinegar, clean it, eat it, enjoy yourself. It's not that hard. Okay, so young sea stars, this is my encouragement. I hope that's encouraging for you. You're beautiful. Don't listen to the honeypot. What do you call them? The guys who are what do they call them? Simps, honeypot. Honeypot simps, don't listen to them. They're under mind control program, and they've already sold their lineage out. Their offspring are going to come hating themselves and hating every brownness that they come from. They sentenced themselves. So don't listen to them. Listen to their king died under the very woman that he said he would never sleep with. Was it Samuel, what's his name? Samuel something? What that guy? Samuel, what's the guy online? Remember, he was like, oh, you're high value women, you're not overweight. He was found using Viagra under a thick Latina nurse who couldn't even resurrect them. Okay. And she wasn't high value. So you're gonna listen to those beings? Most men who talk bad about women are homosexual men. And not gay men. I'm talking about closet homosexual men. Most men who are abusive to women, who hate women, those are closeted homosexual men. If he doesn't like vagina, if he doesn't like yonis, if he doesn't like the smell of it, if he doesn't like going out and deep diving in it, he's gay. Because men who are straight, they like yonis and they like a lot of it. They like it in every which way. Served upside down, round, thick, thin. Yeah. So when men don't like, if they have an issue with smells and your pheromones, and they have everything to say negative about women, they're talking online about women, it's because they're closeted homosexuals and they need to come out of the closet, and then they start being nicer to women. But because they have a fetish to stick their penises on the behinds of other men, they just hate you for holding them, hostage, because they can't be brave enough to live and be who they are. So they want to destroy you. Be careful with those males, sea stars. Okay. If he's mean to you and he's not nice to you, he's probably a closeted homosexual man. The majority of men right now, because of all the BPA and all the chemicals, are homosexual men. The majority. If you talk to gay men, they'll tell you. Gay men, I'll say there's so much more gay men than you think and know, and you would feel comfortable knowing. Footballs is a testimony that there are a lot of gay men who sit and watch men in I want zero to do with a man who watches men in spandex and a brown ball bending over saying hike, hike, hike. That is a homosexual man. Men who sit in a room and want to watch other men in spandex. I question all this. I wouldn't touch their balls if you paid me. I haven't any dealings with men who are watching men in spandex. That is a homosexual sport, and men sitting in a room with other men. That's why most women get killed during Super Bowls, because all of the testosterone and sausage worshiping, it makes them go crazy. And then they start hating the women around them because they realize they really want to be with their best friend and stick their balls in their mouth. So that's the problem. Okay. Say no to gay closeted men. Now, gay men who are out, they're happy. They're living their best life. Listen, gay men, they don't care. They're enjoying, they're actually living better than straight men who are pretending to be straight. They're living the best life. So my suggestion to you closeted gay men who hate women, please just jump off the boat and go over to the gay side. They go accept you. Fat, skinny, fat, black, white. They don't really have restrictions like that. Go jump off. Stop messing with straight women that think that you really like them and really you're masturbating. Because sea stars, you need to look at your men's, what they watch on. A lot of them watching gay porn. If you open up his computer and watch, he's watching gay porn, and some of them are even watching children porn. You need to know who you sleep with. A lot of these men are gay. They're not straight anymore. The social engineering and the mycotoxins and the plastics in the bottles and all the soy in the food, it's tricked them out. Okay. So if they're not in a honeypot scheme, if they're not a honeypot simp, then they may be rolling in the brown poo of love and you don't even know it. Let them go. Find Jesus. Someone said I hate Jesus. Who said that? Jesus is a figment of many of your imaginations. I know you don't want to hear that. Watch Zeitgeist. It'll heal you from your Jesus obsession. Some of you women act like you're having sex with Jesus. This woman said to me, oh my God, Jesus is I feel him in my heart and my soul. Like I thought she was having an orgasm and it was Jesus that was doing it. Like, where's Jesus? What? Oh God, Jesus, I feel like she's literally masturbating to the thought of Jesus. I think that's sick. Some of you need to be cured of Jesus. You need to watch Zeitgeist and then leave me alone. I don't have anything to do with that. That's a figment of your imagination. That's an entity that's created. Now you can have Christ-like energy, which is an energetic thing. But when y'all are having sex with Jesus and then act like I should just be in alignment with it, you're confused. I don't have any belief system in that. I don't know what you're talking about. I think you're all under mind control. Some of you are still suffering from Stockholm syndrome of enforced Christianity by people who hated you, who wanted you to be limited. So, if you want to keep on that, just don't bring it over here. Okay. I don't hate you. You could worship and love Jesus. You could masturbate and do everything in your mind to it. That has nothing to do with me. Okay. I don't criticize you, but just don't come over here ask me if I believe Lord, what is it? Jesus is the Lord and personal Savior. That's a silly question. Okay. You need to ask yourself that. If you believe in it, that's all that matters. Okay. That isn't something you should bring over here. You're on a channel of a woman who talks about UFOs and talk about the dark Kabbalist and elephant nose people. Why are you bringing up Jesus? Okay. Love Jesus. If you want to love Jesus, I don't believe in that. I don't believe in none of it. I think all of it is literally shape-shifting terminology over time, entities sharing certain energies over time, and they keep shape-shifting into a new name at a new time. It's going to be somebody else's name. It's not going to be Jesus. It'll be another one. Android Tom. I don't know. Okay. And then somebody's going to be worshiping them, telling me I should accept Jesus, Robot Tom as my Lord and personal savior. That's on you. I'm not mad at you. I don't want to insult you, but just don't come and bring that over here. Okay. If you want to be cured of your mental illness and your psyopt mindset, you need to watch Zeitgeist. Okay. Zeitgeist will cure all of you of any religion that you have in your mind. Okay. Just watch it. I could be mentally ill. Prove me wrong. Watch Zeitgeist. Prove me wrong. If you watch Zeitgeist and you still come away with Jesus, then by far you deserve Jesus every day. Okay, but some of you need a cure. And I'm not trying to, but you come to my channel. I'm not going to your Jesus channel. I'm not going over there, messing with you and the Lord and personal savior that you have. All the best. But when you come to a channel where that's not something I speak about, it's not something I resonate with, it isn't something that I worship. I don't worship any deity, especially not one that's geoengineered and promoted to me. Okay. And forcibly indoctrinating indigenous children with that mindset of Jesus, because then you got to use your common sense. Like, if Jesus is such a beautiful thing, why would they then enforce and kill and threaten people unless they worshiped it? And also, I actually think, see, the Christians are, I don't want, no, I'm going to leave it alone, because the Christians already came from Billy Carlson. Sorry. The Christians fanatics came for Coach Carlson. I should leave it alone, because I'll antagonize the heck out of y'all. I didn't understand why he deserved it. He just said he wasn't crucified and he was married. Y'all came for him hard. I didn't even think that was that bad. But he's a pig and going into a snake year. I understand. But with me, if I tell you what I really believe about that, YouTube will never have me on here again. I will trick out every Christian's mindset. I will cure you of the cross and all the mental illness and psyops, social engineering, and your mind control programming. I will mess with you and you won't ever come out of it. Stockholm syndrome will be a thing of the past. Because every time you say that name, you think that you're invoking a good thing. If I told you what the Babylonians worship and how they utilize that name, it will trick you out. You would never want to say that name in a good way if you knew what they did underground, underneath the churches, because there's inversions. Sometimes under churches, you get a whole satanic temple. And they worship Jesus too, y'all. You keep saying that name, you invoking things, things that you have no clue. So I just, so leave Jesus alone. I'm not mad. This is not the channel. And I may not be aligned with you. That's okay. I don't call anybody. You notice I don't promote my channel. If you come here, it's because you align with it. I'm gonna say things that may trigger you. You may not agree with this. Okay. It's okay. I don't wish anybody unwell. I wish you fine. If you want to worship in church, I don't say anything about it. I was raised in a Roman Catholic household. I don't believe in it. We weren't really religious though. You know what I mean? Kind of just like vaguely exposed to certain things. So it's not my cup of tea. But please, if you don't want Jesus to disappear from your life and you love him, you shouldn't bring him up to me, because I will ruin that for you. I will destroy any concept you have in connection to that concept that you call a being. And I will give you evidence of what satanic rituals incorporate with the same name. And you gonna realize that you've been hogwashed. You've been tricked. But if you're so limited that you can be tricked, then maybe that's why you're tricked. You know what I mean? Anyway, y'all, I'm going to talk about Jesus. Jesus loves you. I'm sorry, y'all. So I'm sorry. I apologize. Sometimes I go off the left. Sometimes I need to pull it back. I'm sorry. I don't, I leave you all alone. Yeah. Okay. So y'all, it's late over here where I am. So I want to go start cooking dinner for my family because I still cook. And why I still cook is because sometimes when you go out and the diabolical, not to say you can't eat out because you guys do certain things when you eat out, but I like to cook for my family still. Call me old-fashioned, but it is what it is. All right, y'all. I appreciate you. Thank you for coming for my rant. I didn't mean to rant that much, and I apologize if I offended anyone. Sometimes I can do that. I don't mean to hurt your feelings or do anything. It's not my intent. It's just sometimes the cure sometimes feels like the poison. Okay. All right, y'all. I see you tonight on Zoom, and I have an amazing